Not even trying to go online. Being gimpy. Oh yeah, extended date. There we go, we're on. We should be online now.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, we're online. And we're live. Blimey, we've got 7 watching already.
Oh.
Evening all.
Hello.
Good evening.
Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. Very friendly. That's the subject.
These were human beings.
Or as the Sex Pistols put it, God bless Ian Brady, God bless Myra Hindley, even though she's what's the do you know
even though she's horrible
and
not what you call a lady.
That's it.
I love those 2 singles they did with Ronnie Biggs. I thought they were really sort of like great, like really sort of genuinely subversive.
So are we going to get to the musical influences from the Moors murder? Is that how we started then? Is it?
I got a bit on that, but yeah, maybe we should start with the sort of Brady, Ian Brady. He was a bit of a lad, weren't he, Ian Brady? See, the woo-woo when it comes to this case is just totally intertwined with it, because he was adopted, as some people say, he was adopted by a military family. And his father was like it remains unnamed and mysterious, as is often the case with these like mind-controlled serial killer people.
I've just realised something.
What?
You know Myra Hindley's mugshot?
Yeah.
Her hairdo, it looks a lot like Jimmy Savile's. I think Jimmy Savile copied her hairstyle. And I'm not even joking about that.
At some point, yeah, well, that sort of 70s period. Jimmy Savile.
Well, I'm thinking, yeah,
It's like colour as well, isn't it?
So, whilst I'm going to do some old speculation, do you ever think Myra Hindley and Jimmy Savile hung out together? You know, swapping notes.
Because I mean, he ran those gangster-run discos in up north, didn't he? And it's quite possible that Ian and Brady and Myra Hindley went to them. I think.
Do you think he procured children for them?
I don't know whether that was the other way round. I don't know. Sort of. Because I mean, it's all very strange, isn't it? Like, when you get like Fred West and his horrible wife or whatever she was. I mean, they had their house wired for sound, didn't they? So they were at least making audio recordings of what was going on there. So I imagine they were doing video as well.
Well, Jeffrey Epstein, he liked to have his play palace wired for sound and video.
Well, there is also the Moors murders recorded when they tortured and killed the kids, didn't they? It's all on a tape.
That's what I find, isn't it?
They were child killers.
Yeah.
That's
okay,
what got nicked, wasn't it?
I never read about the details of their crimes. I just knew they were murderers. Yeah, I suspect they probably had something to do with Jimmy Savile then. That's why.
Well, shall we start with some facts, shall we?
Do we have to start with the facts? Go on then, Ben Shapiro.
Facts don't care about your
Can I just say before I forget?
No, you don't.
before I forget,
that upsets my autism. Sorry.
I gotta get this in before I forget. Like Ian Brady, yeah, they recorded at least one of the murders, but interestingly,
is it Pauline Reed's, isn't it? I think
that was Leslie Ann Down, the one with the little
yes,
drummer boy tape, the famous tape. But interestingly, like cine film was never mentioned throughout the whole case, and I thought if Brady was really into photography, which he was, surely he'd have a cine camera. And
is there any evidence he had one? Because that would have been quite an expensive item, though, wouldn't it?
Well, 1964, 1967, I suppose they were available at least. I don't know how much they were.
I think you had to be quite a middle-class family to have one of those, though, didn't you?
Probably a bit pricey, yeah.
Mm.
But I mean, he might have just nicked one, mightn't he, if he's in Brady?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's just curious. That's not mentioned. Like, photographs were, but yeah. Well, go on with the facts. Yeah.
Right. So we'll start with we'll get the murders out of the way, and then we can start talking about some get caught in some woo woo. Right. So on the 12th of July 1963, Brady told. Sorry, this is Pauline Reed's murder. So 12th of July 1963, Brady told Hindley that he wanted to commit the perfect murder. After work, he instructed her to drive a borrowed van around while he followed on his motorcycle. Then he spotted a likely victim. He would flash his headlights. Driving down Gorton Lane, Brady saw a young girl and signalled Hindley, who however did not stop because she recognised the girl as an 8-year-old neighbour of her mother. Sometime after 7:30 on Froxmore Street, Brady signalled Hindley to stop for a 16-year-old Pauline Reed, a schoolmate of Myra's sister Maureen, on her way to a dance. Hindley offered Reed a lift. At various times, Hindley gave conflicting statements about the extent to which she versus Brady was responsible for Reed being selected as their first victim. But she felt that there would be less attention given to the disappearance of a teenager than a missing 8-year-old. So this was the thing, because they turned on each other, didn't they, once they were arrested?
Yeah, that's very odd relationship. Yeah.
So
they're totally in love, and then they're slagging each other off. Oh.
I don't think they were ever in love. I think he was under her control. I think she was the brains of the operation.
Was it a codependent relationship?
I think you can see in those mug shots that she's the fucking evil one, isn't she? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's like she's like the fucking just evil, isn't she? Like, fucking hell.
To coin a Cockney gangster flick, he looks like a bit of a muggy cunt, doesn't he? I don't think he looks evil, does he?
He just looks like a cunt. She does. No, she does look fucking evil, yeah.
Mm.
With a Jimmy Savile haircut. I mean, she's not. Who is she, really?
Once you've seen the Jimmy Savile haircut, you can't unsee it, can you? So anyway, once Reed was in the van, Hindley asked her help in searching Saddleworth Moor for an expensive lost glove. Reed agreed and they drove there. When Brady arrived on his motorcycle, Hindley told Reed that he would be helping in the search. Hindley later claimed that she waited in the van while Brady took Reed onto the moor. Brady returned alone after 30 minutes and took Hindley to the spot where Reed lay dying. Reed's clothes were in disarray and she'd been nearly decapitated by 2 cuts to the throat, including a 4-inch incision across her voice box, inflicted with considerable force, and into which the collar of her coat and throat chain had been pushed. When Hindley asked Brady whether he had raped Reed, Brady replied, "Of course I did." Hindley stayed with Reed while Brady retrieved a spade he had hidden nearby on a previous visit, then returned to the van while Brady buried Reed. In Brady's account, Hindley was not only present for the attack but participated in the sexual assault.
I believe that, yeah.
Yikes. This makes me feel uncomfortable. Oh, God, I said the Y word. That's how uncomfortable I am. These things you're telling me made me say the word what makes me cringe.
Well, there's a reason they call her the most evil woman in England, isn't there? So
because she came around before Margaret Thatcher.
So Thatch. So this is the 12th of July. Next one is John Kilbride on the 23rd of November. So they're doing one about every couple of months now, aren't they?
Yeah, it's very
So John Kilbride, in the early evening of 23rd of November 1963, at a market in Ashton-under-Lyne, Brady and Hindley offered 12-year-old John Kilbride a lift home, saying his parents might worry that he was out so late. They also promised him a bottle of sherry. Yeah, because
that's a bit weird.
Because 12-year-old kids love sherry, don't they? Once Kilbride was inside Hindley's hired
Mind you, I mean, kids like any sort of booze they can get their hands on. I remember there's this meme where like this kid says, "Oh, I'll have a drink of hard whiskey." You know, Americans have hard cider as opposed to apple juice, which is what they call cider. Yeah.
So once Kilbride was inside Hindley's hired Ford Anglia car, Brady said he would have to make a detour to their home for the sherry. Well, en route, he suggested another detour, this time to search for a glove Hindley had lost on the moor. So this is their MO then, isn't it? The lost glove. When they reached the moor, Brady took Kilbride with him while Hindley waited in the car. Brady sexually assaulted Kilbride and tried to... excuse me. Tried to slit his throat with a 6-inch serrated blade before strangling him with a shoelace or string. Don't you find it's a bit weird how he so hard that he pushes it all the way through, but then the next time he can't slit the throat even?
Yeah, I don't know. I just find the name a bit odd, isn't it? Like Kilbride. It's got my Kabbalistic spider sense going, but yeah, odd.
So what dates have we got here? So we got the 12th of July. That's not that significant, is it? But you also 23rd of November. Excuse me.
23rd comes up a lot. Yeah.
23. Do you remember that awful Jim Carrey film? That was the number 23.
Yeah. Yeah, it comes up a lot in these things. 23. Yeah.
YouTube recommended me a deleted scene from the Truman Show the other day, and. He's looking down at his ring, which is a hidden camera, and it just made me think about, oh yeah, Jimmy Savile liked to have rings made from glass eyes of cadavers.
Yeah, that's really funny.
I mentioned Jimmy Savile because again, I'm looking at Myra Hindley and just like, yeah, these people were buddies.
I'm convinced of it. Yeah, I think there's just like a secret cult that does all this, and they all know each other. Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's like that meme, you know, when Sam Hyde picks up an apple and goes, "You pick up an apple and make you think yourself, the world is run by child raping Satanists."
Yeah. It's just people with the same interests. They seem to gravitate towards each other, don't they, and just form groups. And I think
probably because they talk to each other. It's like, I want access to children so I can rape and murder them. I do too. Come join my secret club.
So next one is Keith Bennett. Keith Bennett was never found, was he? Zero.
Nah. He's the only one who wasn't found. Yeah.
Poor old. I feel so sorry for Winnie, don't you?
Yeah, it's pretty brutal, isn't it?
She literally I think her life stopped, didn't it? The day after that.
She'd go up digging on the moors looking for him, didn't she, with her mates and that? Yeah, it's just. Oh. I was thinking, a mate of mine told me once that, what if you took some magic mushrooms on Saddleworth Moor that had been fertilized by the dead bodies of these sacrificed children? Wouldn't you have a weird trip?
Because I like to pay money to have a really unpleasant experience.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a weird trip?
That's why I go to Butlins.
Jesus Christ, that's a deep, dark thought, mate.
I went to Butlins once.
Oh yeah, I went to Butlins once. He says after, hey, let's do some magic mushrooms grown in corpses of murder victims. I tell you what, that would probably make a good song for a death metal band.
Or a horror film or something, yeah.
No, horror, death metal.
So, next one is Keith Bennett, 16th of June. So that's 16/6, isn't it? 1964. 16th of June 1964, Hindley asked 12-year-old Keith Bennett, who was on his way to his grandmother's house in Longsight, Manchester, for help loading some boxes in a mini pickup. after which she said she'd drive him home. Brady was in the back of the van. She drove on a lay-by to... She drove to a lay-by in Saddlemouth Moor, and Brady went off with Bennett, supposedly looking for the lost glove. After 30 minutes, Brady returned alone, carrying a spade he'd hidden there earlier, and in response to Hindley's questions, said he had sexually assaulted Bennett and strangled him with a piece of string. This sounds like bullshit to me. That she just used to sit in the car.
Yeah. Just reminds me of like the banality of evil, doesn't it? I mean, it's so sort of tawdry, just so like, ugh, God.
It's I mean, that shows what a piece of shit she is. She won't even own up to her fucking crimes, will she?
No.
Because later on we'll talk about that fucking sick bastard judge that kept trying to get her out, didn't he?
Mm. Yeah, he's the
that judge thing is the reason that I think that she was the puppeteer. Because she can obviously wrap weak men around her finger, can't she? It just seems to me that she can express all of that power while she's inside. Yeah, she was just poor and helpless, and Ian Brady did it all. It doesn't add up, does it?
You ever heard that term simping, like simping for women?
Mm.
I think this is a real problem in the world because there's like men who will just like refuse to believe that women shit and women do evil things. They go to the toilet to powder themselves.
She did it on her like fellow prisoners as well, because I thought like nonces in prison got beaten up, but when she went to prison, it's like all the fellow prisoners, they couldn't wait to like rip her knickers off, you know. They all what a snogger, you know. It's like she certainly had some sort of power over people.
I'm not seeing what they're seeing, but maybe I just don't go for bunny boilers.
It's it just seems to me the male version of I can change him, doesn't it?
Yes, he's all right, really.
He's a good bloke. Yeah. He's a good man deep down. I can change him. He won't always be like. He won't always beat the shit out of me.
I think there's something about women, and I don't understand this, but like serial killers like Charlie Manson and Ted Bundy get loads of love letters from women, and one of the most researched facts the bloke at work had a hard time understanding this because he's like, oh, this girl on Tinder, she's asked me how tall are you? It's like, immediately, let me respond to ask her how fat she is, and. Because it's like, well, if you're asking how tall you are, you know, it's like, all right, you can ask me some physical attributes, but women will search. The most searchable facts about serial killers is their height, because it's women going like, is he tall enough that I can let him impregnate me? And they send them knickers and everything.
Well, Ed Kemper,
they're disgusting.
I don't think he ever got married, though, did he?
What's that, Ted Bundy?
No, Ed Kemper. Ed Kemper was about like 6'7" or something, weren't he? Or 6'9" even. He was like freakishly tall. Ed Kemper was.
Who was that actor who played Lurch?
I don't know. Wrong. Right. So next we've got Leslie Ann Downey. If we bang through these, then we haven't got to talk about the fucking deaths anymore. Is my opinion. Brady and Hindley. Leslie Ann Downey. This is like the worst one, even though they don't actually say a lot of it. Brady and Hindley visited a fairground on 26th of December 1964 and noticed that the 10-year-old Leslie Ann Downey was apparently alone. They approached her and deliberately dropped some shopping they were carrying, then asked her to help in taking the packages to their car and then their home. This is a Ted Bundy thing, isn't it? Because he used to wear the cast on his arm and ask people to help him to get stuff to the car. At the house, Downey was undressed, gagged and forced to pose for photographs before being raped and killed, perhaps strangled with a piece of string. Hindley later maintained she went to fill a bath for Downey and found her dead when she... Fucking bitch! Oh no, another one's dead. It's not my fault, is it? Seems to me I was in the car, I didn't know what was going on. I went to fill a bath, I didn't know what was going on. It's fucking who really is gonna buy that shit? I wouldn't be surprised if she was the... I wouldn't be surprised if she was the
judge
instigator.
did, didn't he?
Yeah. Brady claimed that Hindley killed Downey. The following morning, Brady and Hindley drove Downey's body to Saddleworth Moor and buried her naked with her clothes at her feet in a shallow grave. Is that some sort of ritual thing, do you think? They buried her naked and her clothes at her feet.
I think the Leslie Downing killing was the first actual ritual killing, I think, because she was snatched at the winter solstice, weren't she? And that's the first time they really, I think that was the first one they taped on that. And sort of afterwards, that photo of her
shortly
with
after,
a gag in her
it was
mouth,
Boxing Day, 1964.
Yeah. Well, like that photo of her gagged has like been published in books, and that tape, the transcript of the tape, is in lots of books as well. And
I don't think I should be reading that one out on this episode.
It's been done on purpose, I think, to trigger other serial killers or to get people to copycat it. I think that lurid detail.
This is starting to remind me of a stripper went by the name of Neuro Soup. She had tortured a man who sort of fell for her. Yeah.
Oh, it's the magic number again, isn't it? The 5 murders. So last one is Edward Evans. On the evening of 6th of October 1965, Hindley drove Brady to Manchester Central Railway Station, where she waited outside the car whilst she selected a victim. After a few minutes, Brady reappeared in the company of 17-year-old Edward Evans, an apprentice engineer who lived in Ardwick, who he introduced to Hindley as his sister. They drove to Brady and Hindley's home at Wardlebrook Avenue, Hattersley, Cheshire, where they relaxed over a bottle of wine. At some point, Brady sent Hindley to fetch David's. Yeah, this is where it came apart, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Brady sent Hindley to fetch David Smith, the husband of Hindley's younger sister Maureen. The Hindley family had not approved of Maureen's marriage to Smith, who had several criminal convictions, while including actual bodily harm, housebreaking, first of which wounded intent occurred when he was 11. Throughout the previous year, Brady had been cultivating a friendship with Smith, who had become in awe of Brady, something that increasingly worried Hindley as she felt it compromised their safety. Which I think is probably bullshit. She probably cultivated it, didn't she?
Yeah, David Smith was their apprentice. You know, he was like their sort of like acolyte. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Hindley returned with Smith, told him to wait outside for a signal and a flashing light. Signal came. Smith knocked on the door, was met by Brady, who asked if he'd come for the miniature wine bottles, and left him in the kitchen, saying he was going to collect the wine. Smith later told the police, "I waited about a minute or two, and then suddenly I heard a hell of a scream. It sounded like a woman, really high-pitched. Then the screams carried on, one after the other, really loud. Then I heard Myra shout, 'Dave, help him,' very loud. When I ran in, I stood just inside the living room and saw a young lad. He was lying with his head and shoulders on the couch, and his legs were on the floor. He was facing upwards. Ian was standing over him, facing him, with his legs on either side of the young lad's legs. And the lad was still screaming. Ian had a hatchet in his hand. He was holding it above his head, and he hit the lad on the left side of his head with the hatchet. I heard the blow. It was a terrible, hard blow. It sounded horrible. Smith then watched Brady throttle Evans with a length of electrical cord. Brady sprained his ankle in the struggle. Evans' body was too heavy for Smith to carry to the car on his own, so they wrapped it in plastic sheeting and put it in the spare bedroom. So that's their fifth and final murder.
Yeah. That's so sordid because like the house where they did that was where they were living. That was Myra Hindley's grandmother's house. So like while that's going on, like they used to drug her with like Nembutal sleeping tablets, so she'd like be knocked out. So they're doing that with her grandmother, like sleeping in the room upstairs. Just really fucking gruesome. And Brady had threatened to like throw Hindley's grandmother down the stairs to sort of control her, and that was just
Jesus Christ,
it's just awful. Yeah.
So, do you want to go on to the investigation, or you got some more to say?
I'm reading the chat. I'm getting distracted by it.
Yeah,
I ain't read the
chat. Hate Speech knows about Neuro Soup, which I'm talking about. Apparently, it wasn't her. It was her boyfriend that manufactured LSD. I'm like, nah, she was complicit in it. She's another Myra Hindley. That fucking bitch needs to be locked up.
Who's that?
Oh, there's this weird couple, Neuro Soup. It's probably worth doing another Fortean Times about it. Her boyfriend was responsible for manufacturing a large quantity of LSD, probably did the world supply for a while, and she seduced this man, and she and her boyfriend were torturing him.
Is that it? You done?
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a bit longer than that.
Oh no, there's more to it. The story's been going on for quite some time. I'm gonna have to do some research if we decide to do it. I have to go on
we
the
can stick it in. The true crime episodes are pretty popular, so.
I don't like true crime.
It's a bit too grisly for you.
Well, it's unpleasant. I find it.
Look at the kid gloves she gets treated with. So this is the initial investigation. Though Hindley was not initially arrested, she demanded to go with Brady to the police station, taking her dog. She refused to make any statement about Evan's death beyond claiming it had been an accident, and was allowed to go home on the condition that she returned the next day. What the fuck is it with this woman? Over the next 4 days, Hindley visited her employer and asked to be dismissed so that she would be eligible for unemployment benefit. On one of these occasions, Hindley found an envelope belonging to Brady, which she burned in an ashtray. She claimed she did not open it, but believed it contained plans for bank robberies. On the 11th of October, she too was arrested and taken into custody, being charged as an accessory to the murder of Edward Evans, and was remanded at Risley. The fucking boy, what has this bitch got about her?
Maybe she had stuff on people, That's the way it goes, isn't it? So.
I suspect she did. I got a feeling that she took a note out of Jimmy Savile's book and was like, I've got all this dirt on people.
You probably prostituted her out, I think, to sort of like bigwigs or whoever pays for such services. And, got some dirt on them.
I don't know. I think she probably prostituted herself for it, because she soon had that judge wrap round her finger, didn't she?
Yeah, well, they were well into the sort of kinky sex scene, like taking photos of each other and that. They were both bisexual. And
yeah, because they don't say much about Brady, but Brady was he had a deep fascination with Nazi Germany. Oh, God. He also developed a keen interest in the writings of Marquis de Sade and Nietzsche. Focusing particular attention on Nietzsche's theories of the Übermensch.
I've got a deep interest in the Marquis de Sade and Nietzsche.
Oh, God. Let's hope you don't get a girlfriend then.
I don't want to do a Nancy Spungen or something.
Nancy Spungen.
Now, Marquis de Sade's great, I think. I didn't turn him into a serial killer. I got loads of his books. I think they're very interesting. So
I did enjoy his French fancies.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
It's not all sort of pervy degeneracy. It's very sort of philosophical. He just sort of he's taking the piss really out of the Moors. I suppose it is degenerate actually. Now I think about it, but he's just like I said. You must have met these people. They're just total nihilists, aren't they? They just don't care about anything apart from instant gratification. Yeah. Oh, there's a bit more to him than that, but yeah.
So basically, I'll spin through this. So the police searched Wardlebrook Avenue, which is, I assume, is that the grandmother's house, is it?
Yeah.
They found an exercise book with the name John Kilbride. So they're obviously keeping trophies then, weren't they? So Brady gave him a cock and bull story about how he died, how Evans died. Smith said that Brady had asked him to return anything incriminating, such as dodgy books, which Brady then packed into suitcases. He had no idea what else the suitcases contained or where they might be, though he mentioned that Brady had a thing about railway stations. So they searched the left luggage offices at Manchester Central Railway Station. They found a claim ticket that was later found in Hindley's prayer book.
Yeah. Satanic, isn't it?
So inside one of the cases were among an assortment of costumes, notes, photographs and negatives 9 pornographic photographs taken of Leslie Ann Downey naked with a scarf tied across her mouth, and a 16-minute audio tape recording of a girl screaming and pleading for help. Downey's mother later confirmed that the recording too was of her daughter. I mean, imagine being the mother and having to listen to that.
Yeah, Christ.
There's no support for these victims. There's no counselling or things like that.
No, there'll be plenty of counselling for
days.
There'll be plenty of counselling for Myra to get her ready to be back in the community, won't there?
Well, she did an open university degree, didn't she, when she was banged up? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about her in a bit. So I'm just doing the investigation. So officers making inquiries at neighbouring houses spoke to 12-year-old Pat Hodges, who on several occasions had been taken to Saddleworth Moor by Brady and Hindley, and was able to point out their favourite sites along the A635. So why is it they sometimes? It's weird, isn't it, that this 12-year-old, who would probably be one of their victims, isn't.
Yeah,
that's an odd one, isn't
it?
They
spared her, didn't they? Yeah, they took her for trips to the moors, but they spared her for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh, is Pat male or female?
Female,
is that short for Patrick or Patricia?
I would assume it's female.
She was a female, weren't she? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a young girl they befriended, yeah, but they decided not to kill her for some reason.
Do you think maybe Brady? You think maybe Brady killed the girls and Hindley killed the boys? Because it's kind of weird, isn't it, that they have, so out of their 5 victims, they've got 3 boys, 2 girls. 3 boys, 2 girls.
No, I thought it was 2 boys, 2 girls, isn't it?
No, it's Pauline Reed and Leslie Ann Downley, and then John Kilbride, Keith Bennett, and everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't seem to mind, did they? Well, they were bisexual, weren't they? So I suppose that explains it.
Yeah.
See, to add a bit of woo-woo, I mean, the way they'd go on Saddleworth Moor to bury the victims, and they'd like take photographs of themselves, like posing on top of the graves, didn't they?
That's
they found one of the bodies.
The Wikipedia article, that is.
I mean, that's that. I don't think that has ever been done before. I don't think. I mean, that's quite a sort of innovation in serial killing, isn't it? Sort of like posing on top of the grave, sort of thing. And
Saddleworth I suppose now she'd be like an Insta-thought, fucking selfieing on top of the graves, wouldn't she?
Because Saddleworth Moor is one of those strange places where like lots of strange things had gone on long before they were burying the bodies up there. I mean, I remember reading once.
The behaviour of posing with your trophy, I mean, that goes back to as long as recordings were done and before them paintings, and usually it was with animals what you hunted, not human victims. But can you imagine if there was like someone like Henry VIII who just posed with a human victim and said to the painter, "Oh yeah, paint me standing over his corpse."
Well, the other thing about Saddleworth Moor is it says here Saddleworth Moor is in the West Riding of Yorkshire. Where was thingies?
That's that whole David Peace stuff, isn't it? There's David Peace novels, 1988. Yeah, West. God, who was that? That was Jack the Ripper. Not Jack the Ripper. That was Yorkshire Ripper. Was it Yorkshire Ripper?
The Ripper, because obviously we're joining these two together, aren't we?
I think Bempton's in West Riding, isn't it? No, it must be East. No, it's East Riding, isn't it?
West Yorkshire Police as well. Yeah. Sutcliffe was born in Bingley, West Riding of Yorkshire.
Yeah, it's a strange place. Yeah, because like Myra Hindley and that grandmother's house where they lived, that was in Hyde, wasn't it? Like just outside Manchester or in Manchester, and that Hyde was where bloody that doctor lived, like. Dr. Death, what was his name? Harold Shipman. I mean, he lived in Hyde as well.
Was he in the Ridings as well, then, was he?
Well, he lived in the same town as Ian Brady and Myra Hindley, yeah. And, of course, that sort of connects with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I mean, Mr. Hyde was the dark twin of Dr. Jekyll, wasn't it?
Yeah, but these finished before the Ripper started, because his first assault was 69, wasn't it? Or 67. and these were wrapped up in 65, unless he was the apprentice, the next person to go.
Well, they're all probably part of this same cult, weren't they? I think all sort of like because Saddleworth Moor is a strange place. I mean, there's a lot of witchcraft that's gone on there. There was a vicar who went mad like whilst crossing it, and then he blinded someone with burning sticks from the fire in this pub where he went after he crossed the moor. And there's that article, isn't there, where like the bodies are supposedly buried on the moor in a crucifix shape.
Yeah. Do you want me to show that? Do you?
Yeah, that might be good. Yeah.
Hold on a second. I shall.
Because I mean, there's ritual magic going on here. I mean, there's loads more to it. We ain't got to it yet, but it's just when child murder victims are being buried in like a shape of a crucifix. I mean, there's certainly something dodgy going on there.
Do you think they could have sold Keith Bennett then? If we're following your theory of a child sex cult, maybe they could have sold Keith Bennett. That's why there's no body.
That's possible, yeah. I mean, his body's never been found. Or they say he's at the bottom part of the crucifix, but they've extensively searched that area with dogs and things, and they've never found anything. So, yeah.
Maybe it was shipped overseas to be in some Arab sex dungeon.
Yeah.
Never to be seen again.
Well, there's that. Have you ever heard that
Won't
story
be the
about
first
Johnny?
time Arabs have stolen white children to abuse.
Have you ever heard of Johnny Gosh? Johnny Gosh was a guy who was.
You'll have to repeat all that. You started with a question, and it went silent.
Oh, have you ever heard of Johnny Gosh?
Mm.
Of John something Gosh.
Johnny Gosh.
Johnny Gosh.
Yeah.
Who's he?
He was he was a boy that was kidnapped when he was little, and apparently he went back and visited his mother when he was grown up, and said he was part of some sort of sex cult, and that he was and that he could never come home because they'd kill him or something.
There's weirdness everywhere. I mean, Alex Sanders, the self-styled king of the witches. I mean, they used to do rituals on Saddleworth Moor, and like if you look like where those bodies are buried, they're right next to like 3 reservoirs, and like that's where like because when you get large bodies of water, that's where you get like psychic manifestations happening, and it just seems very suspicious to me because. Brady's always coming out with this sort of like intellectual bullshit, like the sort of thing I'd imagine a member of an elite sex cult would say, sort of thing. Because he said the child killings they did were existential exercises, and the morons out there are the ones who are mad, people who live conventional, dull, boring lives. I mean, that's just something like a cultist would say, wouldn't it? It's just, well, to me anyway. I mean, I've seen this stuff before, And Ian Brady cost taxpayers 10 million quid, like for the time he was in prison. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? Could have built a hospital with that if they'd have just hanged him. But now you've got to keep him in prison and spend 10 million quid keeping him there.
I mean, they say the reason the death penalty went out in this country is because the last executioner refused to take on an apprentice.
Who's that? Albert Pierpoint, wasn't it?
See, you're telling me that you couldn't just get a firing squad. I mean, they're saying, you need special training. It's got to be done.
Hanging's an art, dude. Because you got to get the whole thing about it. You got to get the drop and the.
I know, and I'm just like.
You got to get the drop and the length right, so the person doesn't suffer. It is, but I don't see why they couldn't do.
Well, I'm thinking you shoot somebody with an anti-aircraft cannon, they're not going to suffer. That'll be quick.
They could have just done an Epstein on him, couldn't they? Just paid someone to kill him when he was in the prison, just give him 40 fags.
That's not true. Jeffrey Epstein, what he did is he wrapped toilet roll round his neck and he held his knees to his chest and he jumped off the bed.
He bombed off the bed, didn't
he? Yeah, if you don't believe that story, next you'll be telling me the pancake theory of the Twin Towers and Tower 7 is false as well.
Oh no, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to go against 9/11 in this movement. 9/11 is
What?
absolutely,
What?
is absolutely the Saudis. And if you say it's any other, you're in real trouble.
Oh, I heard that it's that Iranian general what done it.
9/11 was a totally satanic operation. I mean, don't
You
get me
don't
started on
say.
9/11, but if you get 9/11s right and you put them in a nine-celled magic square, so you got like 11, 11, 11 three times.
Yeah.
They all add up to 666 around the square if you add up each individual digit.
Oh, I
That's
hadn't
enough for
considered it
me.
that
But
way. I always just
yeah,
thought to myself there was something about how like tens supposed to be the hermaphroditic number because it's 1 and 0, and when you combine 9 and 11, you get 20, which is 2 and 0. So that's not right. No, so
So
someone's trying to tell me there's actual significance with the numbers 9 and 11,
yeah.
and it's done that way because it's conspiracy to get us to use the American dating system, or in more seriousness, it's because like 9 precedes 11 when you're counting, but it's all a bunch of numerology bollocks and it's a head fuck. So let's carry on with Ian, Brady, and Myra Hindley.
Right. So where was I? Was I doing
There's
the
nothing funny I
investigation,
can
was
say
I?
about this.
No, it's not. It's not really something. Yeah,
Well,
there is some
Brady
There is
even
some
called
funny stuff
himself.
later when we talk about their prison careers, because there is some quite funny stuff involved there.
Well, Brady even called himself a moral relativist, isn't it? And that's what all these people are into, isn't it? Like moral relativity, and it's just that writ large.
Well,
Isn't it?
that's what liberalism. That's what liberalism is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Liberalism is just moral relativity, isn't it?
That's why they ignore it. They ignore the horrible results of their actions when they're all sort of like, to put it bluntly, sort of sucking on each other's asses. I mean, it's all moral relativism, isn't it? Until you get like dysentery.
That's why you get headlines like, I've got Giardia for the 3rd time this month from licking strange men's assholes, and it's not fair. But
so they found some bodies. So who did they find? So they police immediate. So Pat Hodges pointed them. 16th of October, they found an arm bone protruding from the peat, which was presumed at first to be Kilbride's, but the next day was identified as Leslie Ann Downey, whose body was visually identifiable. Her mother was able to identify the clothing. So also among the photographs in the suitcase were a number of scenes of the moors. Smith told police that Brady had boasted of photographic proof of multiple murders.
Probably sold them to.
Yeah.
Probably sold them all these perverts, didn't he? Like fucking judges and whatever.
Snuff films or whatever, yeah. 21st of October, they found the badly decomposed body of Kilbride, which was which were identified by clothing again. Same day, appeared at Hyde Magistrates Court charged with Downey's murder. Each was brought before the court separately and remanded into custody for a week. They made a 2-minute appearance on the 28th of October and again were remanded into custody. Others. So, 2nd of December 1965, Brady had been charged with Kilbride, Downey and Evans. Hindley had been charged with the murders of Downey and Evans and being an accessory to the murder of Kilbride. At the committal hearing on 6th of December, Brady was charged with the murders of Evans, Kilbride, Downey, and Hindley with the murders of Evans and Downey, as well as with harbouring Brady in the knowledge that he had killed Kilbride. Prosecution's opening statement was held in camera rather than open court, and the defence asked for a similar stipulation was refused. So it was held in Hyde over an 11-day period during December, at the end of which the pair were committed for trial at Chester Assizes. Yeah, it's weird. Hindley's, and the pictures taken included Hindley's dog, which was called Puppet. That's a weird name, isn't it?
Yeah, like witchcraft puppet, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, that just sort of further reinforces your suspicion that she was the puppeteer. There's something later on which I think further corroborates what you said, and with your permission, I'd like to skip ahead to the section called Later Investigation.
Hold on one sec. There's just one weird thing about the dog. So to help date the photos, detectives had a veterinary surgeon examine Puppet to determine his age. The examination required a general anaesthetic, which Puppet did not recover. Hindley was furious and accused the police of murdering Puppet, one of the few occasions detectives witnessed any emotional response from her.
Probably did
yes, I'm sure the police went out their way to torture and kill her dog. Yeah, that really doesn't sound... Why is it as well? I mean, with this sort of story, I'm not sure I quite understand the things like doing so much to protect them. Well, why?
Well, it's kind of weird, but they always try to attempt to find something that humanises the murderer, don't they?
Well, I mean, it's all these great pain and great lengths, and this is why I want to read out this section called Later Investigation. There's great lengths to protect Myra Hindley, and I just think to myself, to what end? How do we benefit from this? What's the benefit? Is it so that someone can say, "Oh, well, we upheld the law and
we're not as bad as they are." That's what that is, isn't it? It's we're not going to get down to their level.
Yeah, it's like, well, never mind that, we aid and abet with a regime that uses white phosphorus and we sell it to them so that they can use on certain people. No, we kept Myra Hindley alive, so we're good and moral.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that bit about the dog. Fuck that bitch. Stupid dog deserved to die.
But it's just something where they attempt to humanise her, don't they? All of these things, even the Wikipedia, goes very, very light on her, doesn't it? It's weird.
It's a pussy pass.
It's almost like she's some sort of witch and she put a spell on everybody, hasn't she?
Well, she did the old sob story, didn't she? That she was beaten up by her father and that. And it's like, oh, you've got to feel sorry for her.
Well, that gives you an excuse to torture and rape and kill children, yeah. Oh, my dad said mean things to me, so it's all right for me to smack him.
But that's how these liberals think, though, isn't it? It's like...
Why is it that, they was like, I'm not responsible for my own actions. Something bad happened to me years ago. Therefore, I can do what I like.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Yeah.
So there's the trial section, and then it goes on to later investigation. Do you want to do the trial?
Not really. It's just like standard trial stuff.
It's boring.
The tape.
The judge said
the tape comes out again.
The judge said, the judge said some things like, "You called Brady wicked beyond belief." Great, yeah, I'm sure.
Closing remarks. Let's read out the closing remarks. Atkinson described the murders as truly horrible and accused as two sadistic killers of the utmost depravity. He recommended they spend a very long time in prison before being considered parole, but did not stipulate a tariff. He called Brady wicked beyond belief, but he said So there you go, Brady's wicked beyond belief, but he said he saw no reasonable possibility of reform for him, although he did not think the same necessarily true of Hindley. Once removed from Brady's evil influence, the evil man, it couldn't possibly be the woman, could it?
Yeah, I mean, even here, Wikipedia has to admit that throughout the trial, Brady and Hindley stuck rigidly to their strategy of lying, and Hindley was later described as a quiet, controlled, impassive witness who lied remorselessly. She's a fucking evil bitch. I'm glad she's dead. I know some people have this stipulation.
How can you be an impassive liar?
Well, she was impassive until her dog died.
Yeah.
I mean, that's typical of psychopaths. I mean, they don't give a shit about people, but when something happens to a dog, suddenly it's like, all bets are off. And who's calling me now? Oh, it's someone from Glasgow. Is that Lacey?
They draw a line, don't they? Where it's like, it's horrible if you put a dog down, but to put Ian Brady and Myra Hindley down, that's on the other side of the line, isn't it? Like the lovely liberal line where you can't.
So it's it's weird that sort of someone like Princess Diana got less justice than Ian Brady and Myra Hindley.
But it's these poor parents that fucking suffered. Is this why you wanted to read the later investigation, was it?
And yeah, I really want to skip over some bits. So there was like one of the victims' mothers says, "I'm a simple woman. I work in the kitchens of Christie's Hospital. It has taken me 5 weeks' labour to write this letter because it is so important to me that it is understood by a few for what it is a plea for help. Please, Miss Hindley, help me." So she just saw this as an opportunity to have a day trip. So, right, here's the thing. Police visited Hindley, blah, blah, blah. And then they said some things, and that was all interesting. So here we go. 16th of December, 1986. I mean, chat in the audience, if you want to read along with us, you can go on Wikipedia on Moore's murders, and we're on the section called Later Investigation. So this is the 1, 2, 3,
I'll show
4.
it. They should be able to see
It's the fifth paragraph I'm going to read from. On the 16th of December 1986, Hindley made the first of 2 visits to assist the police search of the moor. Police closed all roads onto the moor, which was patrolled by 200 officers, some of them armed. Hindley and a solicitor left Cockenwood at... Why does she need a solicitor? But anyway, left Cockenwood at 4:30 in the morning, flew to the moor by helicopter from an airfield near Maidstone, and then were driven and walked around the area until 3 in the afternoon. She had difficulty connecting what she saw to her memories and was apparently nervous of the helicopters flying overhead. The press described the visit as a fiasco, a publicity stunt, and a mindless waste of money. What's the footnotes? No, I'm going to read the footnotes later. But Topping defended it. Who's Topping? It probably says earlier in the thing, which I skipped.
He was one of the top cops involved in the case. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So Topping defended it, saying that no, this was a really good thing to do with the public's money.
He was probably another one wrapped round her little finger. He found a way to let her have a stroll across the fucking moors, didn't he?
We needed a thorough systematic search of the moor. It would have never been possible to carry out such a search in private. Oh, why? But then, what, is there anything else? Oh, yeah, so 19th of December, David Smith, who was then 38 years old, spent about 4 hours on the moor helping police identify additional areas to be searched. Topping continued to visit Hindley in prison, delivering her sweeties and not having sex with her, along with the solicitor Michael Fisher and spiritual counsellor Peter Timms. Oh, by the way, all that stuff I said about sweeties and sex, allegedly.
She's dead, so I don't think you were right.
So anyway,
you were right, mate.
Okay, allegedly dead.
Yeah.
Peter Timms, who's a spiritual counsellor, who had been a prison governor before becoming a Methodist minister. It sounds a bit like Mr. Barclay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the 10th of February 1987, she formally confessed to involvement in all 5 murders, but this was not made public for more than a month. The tape recording of her statement was over 17 hours long. Oh, she just likes the sound of a voice like so many psychopaths. I deal with a psychopath, by the way, on a fairly regular basis. And there's times where he's trying to get me to do something. I was just like, can you get to the point, please? It's like, oh, let me finish. So he carries on with the story. So if anyone likes telling you a story, suspect them of psychopathy. I'll carry on with this story, shall I?
Yeah.
So this 17-hour-long performance, 17 hours long, Topping described it as very well worked out in performance in which I believe she told me just as much as he wanted me to know and no more. He added that he was struck by the fact that in Hindley's telling, she was never there where the killings took place. She was in the car, over the brow of the hill, in the bathroom, and even in the case of Evan's murder, in the kitchen. He felt he had witnessed a great performance rather than a genuine confession. Shall I read the next one? Shall we carry on?
Can do if there's good content in it.
Okay, then I'm just feeling like I'm doing a borzoi here. Police visited Brady in prison again and told him of Hindley's confession. That's all right. I've changed into an arm wrestle, which first he refused to believe. Once presented with some of the details that Hindley had provided of Reed's abduction, Brady decided that he was too prepared to Brady decided that he too was prepared to confess, but on one condition: that immediately afterwards he'd be given the means to commit suicide, a request which was impossible for the authorities to comply.
Yeah, because he went on hunger strike for a period, didn't he? And nearly died, but they managed to keep him alive, didn't they?
If he really wanted to commit suicide, there's ways of doing it. They're just some are quite unpleasant. So he wanted a painless way out.
Or he was out of that bitch's influence and fucking actually genuinely felt fucking guilty for the shit he'd done to people.
Yeah. I think she had it wrapped around her finger using her pussy. I really think that's what it was. I think that he just caught up and she had completely under it. She had him under her spell.
Why is it every other man that comes within fucking 5 feet of her gets wrapped around their finger, yet Brady was controlling her? It doesn't make sense, does it?
No, it's not. I mean, the pussy pass is real, and I think we if one thing can be done in the 21st century is to redress the balance and to make people understand that women, not all women are evil, but a lot of women are fucking evil, and I believe that story of Adam and Eve is an allegory. It's telling us to beware of women's wiles.
Power corrupts, absolutely.
Yeah.
Power corrupts, absolutely.
So, April 1987, use Hindley. I keep calling her Hindley.
Hindley. That's what the Sex Pistols sing in that song, don't they? God bless Ian Brady. God bless Myra Hindley. Even though he's horrible and she ain't much of a lady. Do you know that song, do you?
Yeah.
Oh,
do you know
that one?
The Nazis on the run. That's part of it as well.
They wasn't being horrible. It was just their idea of fun. Do you not know that one, Hobbit? Listen to No One Is Innocent by the Sex Pistols. It's a fucking quality tune.
I wish we could play it. Yeah, we'd get a copyright.
YouTube's got so boring since it got taken over by the Blues.
Yeah.
Remember, I think the Blue Meanies and the Yellow Submarine was an allegory for the blue situation we got at the moment. No fun allowed.
I think the most prescient one is. Do you remember that Futurama? You know, when they brought it back, and there was those things that took over the whole planet and just fucking drained it dry of money.
Oh man. It's been a long time since I watched Futurama. I got annoyed with the Jamaican one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, stupid Jamaican. I wish I. Why did I have to do that? I'm so sorry. Look, when I'm doing these things, I end up fiddling with stuff, and I've got like a car plug extension socket which I've unscrewed, and I'm not sure quite how to assemble it back together again. April 1987, do we want to talk about the public wanted a release? Because it seems to me the public understood the true culprit in this was Myra Hindley.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like everything's all the same except for the time she was with Brady, where she was completely under his thumb and just did whatever he said.
Yeah.
It don't make sense. If it don't make sense, it ain't true, is it?
That's it.
Let's just make it. The other thing I'd really like to talk about is poor old. Is Winnie Johnson? Keith Bennett's the unfound child. Who's the one that was never found?
Keith Bennett.
I
think that's his mum. Yeah.
Poor old Winnie Johnson, absolutely fucking tortured from the moment her son went missing to the moment she fucking died. That poor woman. I mean, we need to really mention her, don't we?
Well, that's what happens. She
sent numerous letters to the pair of cunts asking them to just let me bury my son before I die.
Yeah. That's what happens with these evil cases. They sort of spread out, and it's not just the victims that that like affects loads. I think it affected the whole of the Northern Britain. I think.
I bet Myra Hindley was getting off and knowing how much she was causing suffering to that woman, knowing that she couldn't get peace or reconciliation.
How about this bit? Hindley, who had not replied to the first letter, responded by thanking Johnson for both letters, explaining her decision not to reply to the first resulted from the negative publicity that surrounded it. She claimed that had Johnson written to her 14 years earlier, she would have confessed and helped the police. That's just fucking sick, isn't it? Putting the blame on that poor woman for not sending a fucking letter soon enough.
Well, the darkness
that's something women do. They blame everyone for their problems except themselves. They are absolutely incapable of self-reflection.
It's like that David Smith guy who like actually did shot Brady and Hindley. I mean, he actually did bring him to justice, but he was like beaten up for like years afterwards. You saw him in a pub, everyone had beat him up, and it's like he's the one who like brought him to justice. So
yeah,
I bet women were behind that. Saying, "Go on, husband, go beat him up." Like it's just fucking.
Unless Smith was involved more, but we don't know about it because these areas, these local areas, they know exactly what's going on, don't they? When they did back then, when they had the community cohesion and stuff.
By the way, with all the sexist things I've said about women and the dangers of them, ladies, I am single and available. AGCHQ, but take notice. I like them big. I like redheads with green hair.
Single and ready to mingle, aren't you, Hobbit?
Yeah.
Oh, dear,
I think sex should be for procreation only. I think everything else is just mind control.
Okay, so moving on.
Pussy control. Hobbit, somebody tried to walk back the pussy control. There you go. Throw him back in it. Throw him back into it. Zero. Thanks, mate. Just chuck him under the bus.
Even I'm allowed to simp.
I think I don't want to get diversion-fied here, but I think it's a big joke, sex. I mean, it's like, what's the big deal? It's just like, at the end of the day, it's just like a wet patch on the mattress, isn't it? I think sex should be for procreation only, and everything else is just like a scam to get you to get mortgages and so.
Do you know that song by George Michael? I want your sex. Sex is natural, sex is good. Not everybody does it, but everybody should. I think you should meditate on the wise words of George Michael and his fate later on.
Yeah, it's just a theory of mine. I don't know. I don't sort of like really believe it in inverted commas, but I think there's a. I'm backtracking here.
Theory.
I'm desperately backtracking here, but no, it's like.
Are we all falling under the influence of Myra Hindley and we're starting to be apologising?
Yeah, she ain't so bad, really. That Brady was horrible, weren't he? It's not her fault.
Oh, she could have been a good actress if it wasn't for her. Oh, that's the thing.
If it weren't for that Evilly and Brady dragging him in with his tentacles.
We're not supposed to call them actresses anymore unless it's a transgender, and then it's an actress.
Actors. So I find it weird. Did you know they met at a chemical distribution company?
Yeah, probably.
No, I did not know they were met at a chemical distribution company. What chemicals, perchance?
Child killer chemicals.
Child killer chemicals. All it says is a wholesale chemical
I'm just thinking, is it like
company.
sort of...
So what we were saying about Brady's early life, aren't we?
Yeah, well, Brady had that mysterious. Well, he's adopted, wasn't he? Apparently by.
So it's actually, if you go down far enough, you actually find out their backgrounds. It's not on their individual Wikipedia pages, but on the Moors Murders thing. So Brady was born in Glasgow, in Scotland, as Ian Duncan Stewart, not Ian Duncan Smith. Ian Duncan Stewart. You remember Ian Duncan? You know Ian Duncan Smith, the Tory.
Oh, how can you forget him? God.
Yeah, Ian Duncan Stewart. Ian Brady was born as. To Margaret The identity of Brady's father has never been reliably ascertained, although his mother said he was a reporter working for a Glasgow newspaper who died 3 months before Brady was born. So his mum had little support. After a few months, was forced to give her son into the care of Mary and John Sloan, a local couple with 4 children of their own. Brady took their name and became known as Ian Sloan. His mother continued to visit him through his childhood. Various authors have stated that he tortured animals, although Brady objected to such. No, I only kill kids. I don't kill animals. It's like, it's a weird thing. When people know what you've done, it's a weird thing to fucking disavow, isn't it?
Yeah, but like we said last week, once you're banged up for life, it don't matter, does it? You can say anything, can't you?
It's like the Ripper disavowing Jimmy Savile. Hold on a minute, I'm not a nut.
Yeah,
I only smack women in the head with a ball peen hammer.
I thought his disagreement with him was because he was a sore loser at chess. Or am I mixing
I'll do that.
Else?
That's later. That's later. We're going to go into that later when we go to the more fun stuff.
Did I spoil the punchline?
Yeah. Hindley was born in Crumpsall. What a horrible fucking name.
Can you imagine that town's claim to fame is Myra Hindley?
Yeah, Crumpsall. Yeah. Crumpsall, the home of poor old Myra Hindley. I bet that's what it's called. Her parents, Nellie and Bob Hindley, the latter an alcoholic. Impact. Shouldn't that be citation needed into that alcoholic then? Well, her sister managed not to fucking murder anybody, so he can't have been that bad an alcoholic, can he?
He smacked her about, according to Hindley, but yeah, who knows?
Well, basically, here you go. Look, this is what Hindley's problem was. So their living situation deteriorated further when Hindley's sister Maureen was born in August 1946, and about a year later, Hindley, then 5, was sent to live with a grandmother nearby. So this is the source of her fucking problems, isn't it? It's like, she's more important than I am, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
what jealous of the second child, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's not only that, she was second child and she was shipped off because the other child was more important.
Yeah.
Jealousy is truly a horrible emotion.
Oh, yeah.
So when Hindley was 8, a local boy scratched her cheeks, drawing blood. She burst into tears and ran to her father, who threatened to leather her if she did not retaliate. Hindley found the boy and knocked him down with a series of punches. She wrote later, at 8 years old, I'd scored my first victory. This is the poor victim, Myra Hindley. Poor victim, isn't she?
She must have had a nice right hand, I should think.
Yeah. Malcolm McCulloch, Professor of Forensic Psychiatry at Cardiff University, has written that Hindley's relationship with her father brutalised her. She was not only used to violence in the home, but rewarded for it outside. When this happens at a young age, it can distort a person's reaction to such situations for life. So this is what it. This is. I mean, she's the one with the real fucking serial killer thing, isn't she?
Yeah, but I was thinking, like, if she's like a total psycho, what happens when one psycho meets another psycho? Because Brady was a psycho as well. Do they like cancel each other out, or I suppose the stronger psycho dominates the weaker psycho? I suppose.
See, this is the stuff. Like, as a couple, January 1961, the 18-year-old Hindley joined Millward's as a typist. She soon became infatuated with Brady. I mean, who do we have the evidence that she was infatuated with Brady and not the other way around?
Yeah, Brady ignored her for like months when she started work.
Well, this is
there
her
a citation?
Yeah.
Is there a citation for it becoming?
It's probably her diary.
No.
It's probably her diary.
No, there's no citation.
Yeah.
But there's no. Hang on. 131. McVeigh Karen. Death at 60 for the women who came to personify evil. So there is a citation for that. So, like you said, it probably is from her diary because, I mean, if she can do a police interview which lasts 17 hours long, she's definitely somebody that thinks highly of herself.
Yeah. I would probably agree that he introduced her into the Marquis de Sade, Nietzsche and the Hitler stuff, I will believe that. But
And
as far
kinky
as he
sex
was
as well.
confused, as far as he was controlling her, citation needed on that one for me.
Yeah, I mean that sort of literature is not what women traditionally read. It tends, I mean, they'd things like read Lady Chatterley's Lover or Jane Austen. That's sort of more like, oh, I see your literature as well. When have you ever read this book by Leon deGrasse?
Because their thing was like Brady used to masturbate while Hindley stuck a wax candle up his anus, and it's always been like said like that was like Brady sort of demeaning her, like using her as a sort of machine almost for his sexual pleasure. But that could easily be the other way round.
That's what I mean. That's the other way round, isn't it? Pegging a bloke,
Yeah.
it's fucking dominating him, isn't it?
That's like her humiliating him, isn't it? Not the other way
sticking something up a bloke's ass. I mean, that is fucking controlling behaviour. It's what goes on in prison
It's infuriating.
with the bull queers.
I was going to say it's infuriating the way it's framed here, because I mean the facts are presented, but then it's got this flavor text, and it's making most people just go, "Oh yeah, she totally was the victim, and she was just an unwilling accomplice in all of this."
Yeah. See, I know Brady's a psychopath, but his reaction to being inside is kind of like someone who feels guilty, isn't it? Because the hunger strikes, the wanting to die, asking to live in solitary confinement. Because when he moved to Durham prison, he was asked to live in solitary confinement. That kind of, it seems like on some, I mean, he might just feel sorry for his own situation. That's entirely possible.
That's entirely sure. But between the two of them, Ian Brady expressed remorse in various ways.
Yeah.
She never did.
Yeah. All she was looking for was to get out, wasn't it?
Well, she was brought up a Roman Catholic, wasn't she? But like at the time before the murders, she like gave it all up. She said it was all tosh and that. So like, there's a marker there.
Yeah.
I get a feeling, that there's some people who've never heard of Roman Catholicism who would be described as Catholics, and there's some people who can claim to be, quite outwardly pious, and they just, they are anything but a good Catholic, or a Catholic for that matter.
Blimey, we're getting quite judgmental on this, aren't we?
I know. It's not the usual sort of light-hearted thing we do. Can we do one about St. Elmo's fire next time?
Right, so yeah. I think we need to do something a bit more light-hearted next time. So, Hindley. I mean, we'll talk about Hindley, then we'll talk about Brady, and then we'll try and dovetail it with last week's episode. Hindley lodged an unsuccessful appeal against their conviction immediately after the trial. Brady and Hindley corresponded by letter until 1971, when she ended their relationship. I mean, is this someone who's infatuated with? Does this sound like the actions of someone who's infatuated with somebody?
No, it sounds like a complete psychopath. I mean, that you would launch an appeal immediately after being sentenced shows no self-reflection and no empathy. It's like, I've just been given a life sentence. Well, time for an appeal.
Yeah. I mean that's
yeah,
like,
it's a bit weird.
That's like,
I mean,
I'm
not even
gonna
waiting
show,
a year for it to cool down and going like, okay, there's no media attention now. I can probably launch an appeal.
Or it's like, I suppose psychopathic thinking would be like, here, if I launch an appeal, it will show that I'm not guilty. Is it some like weird thinking like that?
Well, I mean, I don't know how psychopaths think, but there's some sort of, I think, flawed logic going on here. You might be right. But I'm thinking it could probably even be simpler minded than that. It's just a case of like, I better lodge the appeal now because they take some time. So it's not even a case of like, can you imagine what sort of public outcry that would cause? Because of course she'll have no sort of empathy or understanding how people think. I mean, this is the difference between successful psychopaths and unsuccessful ones. The unsuccessful ones don't understand how people think, so they end up killing people and becoming famous, and that's why psychopathy is synonymous with murderers.
So Hindley, and this is the other part, isn't it? Hindley broke their relationship off. You know, the woman who was so infatuated with this bloke that didn't want anything to do with her. You know, so I mean when he went cold on her, to make her more infatuated, or so she says. And then she breaks the relationship off. This bloke she was infatuated with, she did these murders for. It doesn't make sense, does it? The thing never made sense to me. The way they said that she was innocent all the time.
Well, she had her open university degree. She had to concentrate on that, didn't she?
Well, so the two remained in sporadic contact for several months. But Hindley had fallen in love, obviously because she's capable of love, with one of her prison warders, Patricia Cairns. I mean, why would you fall in love with a prison warder? Let's have a think.
And why would a prison warder fall in love with her? I mean, it's just like, she must have some power, mustn't she? Like,
how about this one then? A former assistant governor claimed that such relationships were not unusual in Holloway at the time, as many of the officers were gay and involved in relationships with either one another or with inmates.
Oh God! Yeah.
That is a definite security breach. I mean, if you've got inmates having sexual relationships with the staff, they can get them contraband, and they can, even get them keys.
Well, look at the grifting she does. So Hindley successfully petitioned to have her status as Category A prisoner changed to Category B, which enabled Governor Dorothy Wing to take her on a walk around Hampstead Heath, part of her unofficial policy of reintroducing her charges to the outside world when she felt they were ready.
Wait. Category B prisoners cannot go for walks on Hampstead Heath. I mean, Hampstead Heath's a park, right? Yeah, I mean, she gets thrown helicopters to the moors to have a nice walk around with 200 officers looking after her.
Well, they said the excursion caused it a furore in the national press and earned Wing an official rebuke from the then Home Secretary Robert Carr. So they weren't taking it laying down, at least.
In some ways, she's worse than Jimmy
So here's
Savile.
the meat and potatoes why she was involved with Patricia Cairns. With help from Cairns and the outside contacts of another prisoner, Maxine Croft, Hindley planned a prison escape, but it was thwarted when the impressions of the prison keys were intercepted by an off-duty policeman. Cairns was sentenced to 6 years in jail for her part of the plot.
God, that's one scheming bitch, isn't it? Like,
fucking is, isn't it? I mean, I know people hate Hindley, but I never quite got it until I read the facts on it. She's just a grifting, fucking scheming bitch. If she weren't a murderer, she'd be a fucking e-celebrity now, wouldn't she?
I mean, you're banged up for like killing kids, and the first thing on your mind is like escaping,
appealing, and when that don't work, escaping. Yeah. It's just.
And like shagging your jailer, sort of thing,
Yeah, and then after all that stuff, you're just like, I'm not a danger to the public. Can I be put down from Category A to Category B, please?
Yeah.
Well, she didn't qualify for Category AA then, because apparently there's no category above A, but then they did AA. If you know about the prison categorization system.
So was it? Hindley was told she should spend 25 years in prison before being considered for that parole. Lord Chief Justice agreed with that recommendation in 1982, but in 1985, Home Secretary Leon Britton, see, all the blues aren't bad, increased their tariff to 30 years.
That's weird. He was one of those nonsense, wasn't he?
I was just going to say, wasn't he accused of... so he would have probably known, allegedly, Jimmy Savile, allegedly.
Maybe partied with Jimmy Savile, allegedly.
And then allegedly would have had an alleged conversation with him, allegedly talking about Myra Hindley, and then allegedly he'd be like, she should probably stay in a bit longer.
Do you think
because allegedly she might have some dirt.
Do you think it could be allegedly because Hindley allegedly turned down Jimmy Savile?
Allegedly. Could be.
So by that time, Hindley claimed to be a reformed Catholic. Oh, fuck me. Didn't Tony Blair do that? And he's just as fucking evil, isn't he? Downey's mother was at the centre of a campaign to ensure Hindley was never released from prison, and until her death in February '99, she regularly gave television and newspaper interviews whenever Hindley's release was rumoured.
As we're talking about Catholicism, is there a way we could summon Jackson briefly and ask his opinion on Reformed Catholics? Because up until this point, I wanted to say I was a Reformed Catholic, and now I'm just thinking to myself, I don't really want that label now.
In February 1985, this is where base Thatcher comes in. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher told Britain that his proposed minimum sentences of 30 years for Hindley and 40 years for Brady were too short, saying, "I don't think either of these prisoners should ever be released from custody. Their crime was the most hideous and cruel in modern times." I mean, who says fucking Margaret Thatcher was evil, eh?
Well, I don't know.
She was evil. She banned milk in schools. This one trivial thing counteracts all the other stuff.
No, she was pretty based, old Maggie.
She did say some things I agree with. One of the things she said is like having power is like being a lady. If you tell people you are powerful, you are a lady, you're not.
Yeah.
So, in 1987, Hindley admitted that the plea for parole she had submitted to the Home Secretary 8 years earlier was on the whole a pack of lies, and to some reporters her cooperation in searches on Saddleworth Moor appeared a cynical gesture aimed at ingratiating herself to the parole authorities. Then Home Secretary David Waddington imposed a whole life tariff on Hindley in July 1990, after she confessed to having been more involved in the murders than she admitted. Oh, fucking finally. Do you think this was some sort of mea culpa to get her through parole hearings? Because they say the main part of a parole hearing is that you have to be apologetic for your
again, with that Catholicism thing, how can she be a reformed... Well, she gave up Catholicism, and then a few years later she wants to be a reformed Catholic. It's all just games she's playing, isn't it?
Where's the stuff? I haven't found the stuff of about.
I do sort of have to question, like, when she dies, like, and she has that conversation with Saint Peter. Seriously, I mean, it's like, is that the one time that you just be like, "No, bitch, you're not getting in. That's not working on me."
What is it? Alex Jones says, "Yo, bitch, get out the way."
Or he sort of goes up to the gate. It's like, "No, fuck off, bitch! You're not coming in." It's like, "Oh, you're not allowed to swear. You're Saint Peter."
You're going downstairs to have a trident up your jacksy.
But you'll like that, won't you?
Yeah, she'll enjoy it, wouldn't she?
Oh, and then she's like, just behind the gates, there's Puppet there, and it's like, "Oh, Puppet, you're there." It's like, "Yeah, no, you're not coming in." That probably would be how for her to be like not reunited with her dog Puppet.
Look, I'll tell you what, she pissed off some people, didn't she? Even David Blunkett,
well, she's pissing me off, and she's dead.
Even David Blunkett, the lefty liberal, ordered Greater Manchester Police to find new charges against her to prevent her release from prison. Fuck me, she pissed off some people in high places, didn't she? I can't find anything about that judge. Who the fuck was that judge? The one she had wrapped around her finger.
I think you're thinking of that campaigner was Lord Longton, weren't it?
Was it Lord Longton?
I don't think he might have been a former judge. I can't remember, but yeah, he did it for loads of people like that, didn't he? He said we should understand them, and it's like
he was banging them, weren't he?
They might have murdered people, but it was a learning experience, It's like,
yeah, She was young, stupid. Lord Longford. Lord
Longford, that's it, yeah. He looks like a right fucking twat, yeah.
Right twat.
To be honest,
Frank Pakenham, the 7th Earl of Longford. Let's have a look. He does look like a fucking sex case, doesn't he?
His other big thing was to like relax the pornography laws, weren't it? That was his other big thing. So, yeah.
Oh, he's our guy then. letting out child killers, and there we go. Everyone can see a picture of Lord Longford now. Francis Orngia Pakenham. Oh dear, what a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, that is a face of a twat.
There's a bit about the. He gained a bit of reputation for eccentricity, becoming known for his efforts to rehabilitate offenders, and in particular campaigning for parole and release from prison of the Moors murderer Myra Hindley. Longford's support for Hindley I'm at it now. Hindley led to the sobriquet Lord Wrongford from the tabloid press.
Well, he's just a fucking agent, isn't he? He's one of these agents, isn't he? Lifetime actors.
He's an agent of fucking chaos, isn't he?
Of the whole moral, relative, liberal,
writing Lord of the Rings,
forgiving. God knows what the fuck they do. I don't know.
Sorry, I thought I muted myself.
You didn't mute yourself.
I do apologise, chat.
God, the chat's going off, isn't it? It's like,
oh God, how about this? In March 1996, Longford backed up Hindley's claim that in an Oxford University magazine that she was still in prison, so that the Conservative government, trailing in the opinion poll since the autumn of '92, would win more votes. Fuck.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Why are there all these people defending her? I really think it's like time we question, why are you defending this woman?
Well, they're agents,
why?
aren't they? I think they're just lifetime actors. They're just agents for this liberal.
Oh, let's. Do you know what else Lord Longford was famous for? The decriminalisation of homosexuality.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that's something we've benefited so much from these days.
Yeah.
I am truly glad.
So if you want to watch about Longford, it's probably goes pretty easy on him. But there's a Channel 4 film called Longford from 2006 where he was played by Jim Broadbent, and Hindley was played by Samantha Morton. Wasn't Samantha Morton nonced by allegedly Harvey Weinstein?
Probably.
I don't know.
Allegedly, probably.
Yeah. I don't know. Allegedly.
Oh, did you know Smith was acquitted of the murder of his father, who had been suffering from terminal cancer? You know, the brother-in-law.
Fucking hell.
Jesus Christ. These people. Bless her. Pauline Reed's mother was admitted to Springfield Mental Hospital in Manchester. She was present under heavy sedation at the funeral of her daughter on 7th of August 1987. 5 years after their son was murdered, Sheena and Patrick Kilbride divorced. Downey's mother died in 1999 from cancer of the liver. Since her daughter's death, she had campaigned to ensure Hindley remained in prison. The doctors said the stress had contributed to the severity of her illness. Bennett's mother had continued to visit Saddleworth Moor, where it's believed that Bennett is buried. She died in August 2012.
They do say it's grim up north, and it bloody is, isn't it? Well, it's grim up north back in the 60s.
Let's go on to more lighter matters, shall we say?
I've got a bit of woo woo.
Do you want to do some woo woo, or do you want to do Brady's prison years? Because some of that's quite funny.
I'll just get a bit of woo woo in.
Go on, let's get some woo woo in.
In 2015, an unidentified Pakistani man was found dead on Saddleworth Moor from strychnine poisoning, and where he decided to kill himself was where there was like a massive plane crash some years before. And I've always thought that was a bit strange. Like, he lived in London, but he took a train to Saddleworth Moor and killed himself by strychnine poisoning at the site where a large plane crash happened. And slightly woo-woo, but his name was what was his name? His name was David Lytton. That obviously connects to Sir Bulwer Lytton and the coming race and all that weird entities living underground. And once you get the names coming up, that sparks my interest. But yeah, just a strange side note. Yeah. Oh.
Hey, chat, behave yourselves.
Yeah,
Calm down.
It's getting a bit spicy in the chat.
It is. Otherwise, I'm going to have to show I'm actually a government fed, and I'm going to start banning people.
I've got a. Yeah, Brady was an occultist. He used to read Aleister Crowley. He used to read the tarot, according to Christine Hart. And
is that not just incidental? It's like, he did a bunch of murders. Also, he read some books. Some of those books happen to be written by Aleister Crowley.
But he hid the that little note for the where he stashed the all his pedo stuff. He hid it in Myra Hindley's prayer book. I mean, that's a bit satanic, possibly, but just seems odd with Saddleworth Moor and all the sort of witchcraft associations with Saddleworth Moor. And I just think, I mean, we haven't mentioned the green face of death yet, have we?
I know, we haven't mentioned
the green face of death.
When Ian Brady had his first job interview, like before he killed anyone, he said the green face of death appeared to him, which was like a sort of demon that sort of like ordered him to do the killing, unless he's like totally bullshitting. I don't know, but that's what he says. Like the green face of death appeared to him on the high street up north somewhere and said that, that was his destiny to kill people, and he'd be rewarded by the green face of death if he did it. But it sounds like bullshit to me, but that is what he said. But and it's just these things echo, like we've said, like before, like Steve Strange and that woman out of the Pretenders. They made that really sick taste song called.
I'm trying to find like an appropriate term for what Ian Brady might be. I wanted to say like a willing victim, because I do think he's a victim of her witchery. But I'm reading this bit here where when he was in Ashworth, Brady wrote a book called The Gates of Janus.
Yeah, I've read that. Yeah, it's crap.
Oh, okay. He says here he's
nice book review.
He saw no point in making any kind of public apology. Instead, he expressed remorse for actions, and I get a feeling that they're probably in numerous ways he did do that. It's like, I don't want to live anymore. What I think it was? I think he was getting his jollies with Myra, and they were doing things to turn one another on, and it got more and more depraved. It's basically like, what would turn me really on, Ian? If he went and got some children and then raped and murdered them, I would have the best sex ever for you. And he probably just, for whatever reasons, went along with it.
Yeah. They're just egging each other on, aren't they, in this sort of folie à deux sort of thing, or just sort of like a perverted relationship. Yeah, I mean, that's what people do.
Well, exactly. I really do think it's a case of that they were pushing each other to more depraved depths. And again, I believe Myra is the instigator in this.
Yeah, I believe it as well, yeah. I mean, Brady was a nasty bit of work, but yeah, I mean, like I said, look at the mug shots. Like Brady looks relatively normal compared to her. I mean, she just looks fucking evil.
That mug shot's something else, isn't it?
I mean, those fucking eyes. Look at her eyes,
But she looks fairly normal.
Yeah, distant forces,
though, doesn't she?
I mean, Brady was just like an elitist narcissist, really. I mean, he paid to have Hitler's speeches privately pressed onto LPs, vinyl LPs that he'd play at loud volume. But that's just like LARPing, isn't it? It's just like.
According to Mr. 262, he says, the hosts sound American. Yeah, I'm from Minnesota.
Yeah, definitely. I'm from New England.
I thought you were from Iowa. Where are you from, Zero?
I'm from Norfolk. I am.
What? Norfolk, New Virginia.
Norfolk, Alabama.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Not today, NSA. Someone in the chat saying he has AUT, ISM, autism.
That's Tuesday material.
I'll just say,
yeah, that's a Tuesday thing. Yeah, I only put it on for Tuesdays. It's not a 24/7 thing with me.
I just find it sort of slightly curious. I mean, Peter Sutcliffe that we did last week, he was like a blunt sort of animalistic killing machine, wasn't he? But very incompetent, because he wounded most of his victims. He didn't actually kill them. But the Moors murderers, they were something else, weren't they? I mean, they meticulously planned their killings, and there's something more hardcore there. There's something which I think is some sort of mind control programming, but that's just what I typically think.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're not wrong in that sense. But the techniques is very easy. She controlled his mind with her minge.
It's the satanic pussy, isn't it? It's just turns people.
One of the first sort of stories about the dangers of that was with Lilith and how Lilith would seduce Adam, and apparently that's where we get all the vampires from.
Well, she refused to submit to Adam, didn't she? She wanted to be top dog, didn't she?
And stick a candle up his bum.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Like, I was just looking at that on my notes.
How the hell can you turn that round to make out it's like a power move from Brady? It's a real power move for you to stick this at my ass.
A candle.
It's the most desperate kind of fucking reaching I can think of.
I used to tie him up, whip him, and he'd say, "Thank you, mistress," and it was all because I was doing it for his sick, perverted pleasure.
I find it odd because they had fucking guns, didn't they? Like him and her, they had like pretty heavy guns. Like I don't know what the gun laws were back then, but apparently that was they legally owned these sort of like blunderbusses or these.
Yeah, Capston's the man you need to ask about that. We had apparently our gun laws were just as kind of very similar, if not better, than the Yanks for quite a long time.
Yeah, up until 1996, when that very strange pedo, the one that was friends with Jimmy Savile allegedly, did the thing with Dunblane.
Yeah, him and Michael Ryan and Hungerford. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even remember the name of the attacker. It's one of those things. I don't. What was his name? Shall we carry on with this thing? Are we done with it? Yeah, I'm done with Myra Hindley. In conclusion, if you've been watching, only just tuned in to the chat right now, Myra Hindley was an absolute cunt. Ian Brady was a bastard, and Myra Hindley made him do it.
I've just got a sort of note here. It says that Ian Brady wanted Hector Berlioz's The Symphonie Fantastique, Dream of the Night of the Sabbath, played during his cremation. Brady asked for the fifth movement to be played, which concerns an artist constantly haunted.
That number.
The fifth again, yeah. He wanted to play the fifth movement play, which concerns an artist constantly haunted by the vision of the perfect, unattainable woman, which supposedly echoes the composer's own obsessive love for a woman who ignored him, who becomes a whore and is cast into hell. So that's a kind of curious choice he wanted for his cremation. He's sort of trying to tell us something there. That she was the master.
Can I jump ahead or jump back here? Because there's, I think, there's salient information here. And it says, this is from As Murderers section in the Wikipedia. Hindley claims that Brady, because she would do, that Brady began to talk about committing the perfect murder in July 1963 and often spoke to her about Mayor Levin's, Mayor Levin Compulsion, published as a novel in 1956 and adapted for cinema in 1959. The story tells a fictionalized account of Leopold and Loeb case. So Nathan Freudenthal, Leopold Jr., and Richard Albert Loeb were two wealthy students. Oh, Loeb?
That's Loeb.
Okay, well, I pronounces it how I spells it, Loe. But they kidnapped and murdered 14-year-old Bobby Franks in Chicago. Oh, sounds like nice guys. I wonder if they knew Leo Frank. You know the story about Leo Frank.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, yeah.
So are we? Because I've got some content to do. Some of Brady's mates in jail. he had. Was it Yeah, I think it was Brady's mate. He was mates with, I don't know. You ever heard of the teacup poisoner, Hobbit? Graham Young.
No.
Basically, what happened was he got quite into a chemical called antimony, and he quite liked putting it in his family's tea. So anyway,
Oh, okay.
so anyway, he kills. I think he killed one of his family, didn't he? So then he
Maybe
goes to
that's the
prison.
ingredient used in
So then he
vaccines.
goes to prison. But what happens is they go, yeah, he seems like a good lad. Let's let him out again. So then they send him to another place, a photographic laboratory, where then he gets tea duties, and then poisons 7 people.
Oh, what are the chances of that happening?
So it says on Graham Young's. There's a film about it called The Young Poisoner's Handbook that's quite amusing. While in prison, he befriended fellow serial killer Moore's murderer Ian Brady, with whom he shared a fascination with Nazi Germany. In his books The Gates of Janus, published by Feral House, Brady wrote, "It was hard not to have empathy for Graham Young."
Yeah, it's a load of wank, that Gates of Janus. I did buy the hardbacks for that. Yeah, it's just him like waffling on, like he's one of those
Gates of Janus,
like,
Gates of Anus,
the
more
Gates,
like.
Gates of Anus. Yeah. He's like one of those twats who uses like really long words to try to make him sound intelligent, sort of thing. You know,
the Gates of Anus. Me, Myra, and a candle.
Yeah.
Oh dear! So this is one that the missus actually found some content for me tonight. This is from when the Ripper from last week and Peter Sutcliffe were in prison together. He thought he was the bee's knees. I thought he was just an idiot. Do you reckon there's some sort of serial killer hierarchy? It's like he thinks he's fucking better than me because blah, blah, blah. Peter Sutcliffe and Ian Brady.
He's only done 5 murders.
Yeah, he's only the fucking amateur. Peter Sutcliffe and Ian Brady served part of their time at HMP Wormwood Scrubs. Sutcliffe is said to have told a friend that Brady was a bad loser at chess. I just love to think of serial killers being so petty. It's fucking awesome, isn't it? He came to hate the Moore's murderer, dubbing him as a snob, according to a friend.
To be fair, though, I mean, you got to imagine these people have got a few screws loose. I mean, you don't murder people normally, and so that they would be like, "Oh, I really don't like the way he breathes."
It's kind of like the banality of evil, though, isn't it?
Yeah. You can imagine them all getting together and go, he thinks he's better than us. He does, that Brady. It's like it's just mental.
Sutcliffe and Savile.
Well, I've got some satanic stuff here. Like when Brady did one of his killings, he thrust his fist up to God and bellowed, "Take that, you bastard!" And like that's a bit of a larpy thing to say. And when they were actually sentenced, when they were actually jailed for life, that was on the 6th of May 1966. So you got the 666 at the start and the end of the date, and you add up the individual. I don't want to go on numerology on you, but if you add up the individual digits of the 6th of May 1966, it adds to 33. That bloody 33 that keeps cropping up. So beyond all the sort of craziness, there's this sort of horrible satanic stuff going on behind all this, I think. And
yeah, because didn't you say there was a link between the Moore's murderers and the the Ripper, because that's why we did these 2 episodes together, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't bloody remember it now.
Fucking hell.
Well, I just think they're all part of this cult. I think they all like knew each other, and they're just part of this cult. And what we get told is just like mainstream TV stuff, isn't it? It's like the BBC bloody doctored version of it, isn't it? I mean, I think there is this cult who like get off on this sort of stuff, and it's all. That's why this paedophile sort of stuff is like. It's not being done, is it? This sort of like high-level paedophile investigation. I mean, what's happened to that? It's been stomped on because they're all part of this bloody cult. I think.
Well, I even heard someone say that, the Jeffrey Epstein evidence came out about him.
We're doing the Corbyn pronunciation now.
Well, Corbyn knows how to properly pronounce his name, so I'll defer to the expert on anti-Semitism on this one. If you want to use any of your drops, then go ahead.
No, I don't do drops on this show. Drops are Tuesdays.
Oh, do you not?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. But yeah, some evidence came out about Epstein, and therefore we had. So it was just like America killed an Iranian general, and then Iranians blew up a base which the Americans had evacuated already. And
I'll tell you what. If you want to go in for a conspiracy theory, I have a conspiracy theory that I've come completely up on my own. I've come completely up with this my own. I haven't read it anywhere or anything like that.
So if also starts repeating it, we know where he's got it from.
Yeah, exactly. So my theory is this. Right, so you have the Americans kill this general. It's supposed to be World War III's happening, yeah? Iranians fire a few rockets over, kill apparently nobody. They killed between nobody and 80, didn't they? Okay, so they killed some people. Not a massive response. My theory is this: what if the Iranians wanted that? Because you saw how popular that general was, didn't you? The masses in the streets, all that kind of stuff. What if this general was threatening the Ayatollah and he wanted the Yanks to kill him for him?
I mean, he could have been gotten too big for his britches, maybe.
That's what I mean. So then you do a deal with the Yanks to kill him, and you won't strike back too hard, and there you go, job done. World War III averted, and you've got what you want. Both sides look tough. Renewed popularity, etc., etc. It's a complete and utter theory. I've got no evidence to back any of it up.
And it pushes the oil prices up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So like someone's making dollar on that. So.
It's just it seems to be it's the only thing that makes sense to me why the Iranian response would be so weak.
But then that Iranian plane's just crashed, didn't it, in Ukraine, like mysteriously, and
yeah,
you know, I mean, like I can't see why they'd do that deliberately. Why they'd want to take that, unless it was like some sort of warning or some sort of weird warning, like I don't know. Sort of. I got some proper woo woo on the Moors murderers, but I don't want to sort of like abruptly change the subject. But is there anything else? I
thought we'd finished. That's why I went into the Iranian stuff. I thought you'd run out of steam, or have you got second wind?
No, I got loads of woo woo here, but I don't want to sort of like do my sort of open university lecturer mode. But this guy LSC Taylor, like he says that what his main theory is that like ley lines pass through royal residences and places where like murdered children are found. And on the 5th of August 2004, he was driving his car near Sandringham Castle, where he saw a white box van with a name on the side, but he couldn't remember the name on the side of this white box van. And then he saw another van like of the same make and model coming towards him with a name on the front of it that he also couldn't remember. And then he said he had a weird missing time experience of 2 hours. Anyway, like 2 years later in 2006, he was watching the 2-part British TV serial See No Evil about the Moors murderers. And like there's a scene in that where the sister of Myra Hindley crosses the road with a pram and a van comes past. And then he realised that was the same van he saw near Sandringham Castle. And it had Repco on the side of it. Like Repco, as in Reptilian Company. And he says that like when he bought the DVD version to find it, but that scene was taken out. Like, that was shown on the TV broadcast, but that was taken out of the DVD version, and that's pretty bloody weird. Like, what can you say? I don't know. I mean,
certainly interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a bit odd. I haven't seen. I do believe I haven't seen the actual DVD version, but I'm sure he's telling the truth. An existential exercise. That's what the Moors murder.
Is that your only bit of woo-woo, or do you have some more woo-woo for us?
I've probably got a lot of woo-woo if I can scroll down.
Hang on. I thought we were supposed to be polite on this show.
We are polite.
Well, woo is an endearing term.
Zero's taking it back.
Woo is our
I'm reclaiming it.
Woo is our term.
I own woo. I own it.
It's
I remember 5 years.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. I was listening to some of this, just sort of checking in, because I vowed that I wouldn't be doing sort of the main podcast anymore. But this one doesn't count, and I've got to make sure Hemmingford doesn't do anything stupid again. So I've got to like phone his missus 20 times and make sure he hasn't, like, she's put him in the recovery position, and phone the fire brigades.
That was a one-off. That was a one-off.
So that's all right.
What I was going to ask you, we were talking about the availability of guns, which would have been during the Moors murders, which was like early to mid 60s.
If I remember correctly, it was a blunderbuss, wasn't it?
Well, they had revolvers and sort of like some pretty heavy rifles as well, which I find rather strange. Like
that sounds like it, that they probably would have been done for that, or that they might have purchased that on the black market, or it might have been some pre-registration of the 1968 Firearms Act. Would be my original.
Is there a possibility it was a war trophy though? I mean, or was it just pistols that
a blunderbuss?
Well, if I'm honest, if it's a revolver, it was probably an old Webley kicking around from the Second World War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
how is everyone, just by the way? Because it's been a weird few weeks.
I want to pick on that term. If you're honest, if you're lying, what would your speculation be if you're lying about where that revolver came from?
Sorry, I don't understand the question.
No, right, okay. You started off the phrase with, if I was honest, if it's a revolver, it's more likely a Webley surplus from World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So if you weren't being honest and were to speculate, where would that revolver come from?
Oh, dear God.
Entertain me, please.
Where would it come from? A dodgy armourer who probably supplied guns to the IRA.
Oh, okay. I was going to suggest that King Arthur had a cache of revolvers, and people were like, well, that's a bit of a head scratcher. Why would King Arthur have firearms?
Fucking Samuel Colt realised that his patent was outdated by 900 years.
Oh yeah, King Arthur of Albion had prior art.
Sorry, more like 1900 years, but yes.
Well, Webley's army issue then. Webley's weren't army issue, were they?
Yes, they were. They were army issue since the early 1900s. Before that, officers usually provided their own sidearms and such like.
Well, I was just wondering, because they said it was if it was quite a heavy gun, could it have been like a Bren gun or something like that?
No, they had rifles. That was a rifle. They had a rifle and 2 revolvers.
Oh, that probably would have been a First World War weapon then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, again, you have to keep in mind that the British Army was using essentially the same rifle and ammunition with a few variations from about sort of 1880 to like 1954.
So that'd be
It
like
was the same
was it the
Lee
bolt
pattern
action
of
Enfield, wasn't it?
Yeah, it started off as the Lee Metford, the Mark One Lee Metford, which was still using cordite ammunition, round tip nose sort of ammunition, and that was sort of loaded without stripper clips just from the top. And then the ammunition was changed and the rifling was changed from Metford rifling to Enfield rifling.
Is that the rifle they used in Zulu? Because they were talking about the Henry 454 caliber on that.
No, that's the rifle that they're referring to in Zulu was the Martini Henry, which I said 454 Martini. I thought it was bigger than that, but that might just be me being silly. Again, that was back prior to the adoption of the Lee Metford, but that in itself was an upgrade from the Schneider that had been hastily converted from percussion rifles prior to that. So yeah, that was then. Yeah, but in terms of the timeline, if it was a rifle and a couple of revolvers, my first instinct would be army surplus from probably prior to the 1920
They look like air rifles.
Act.
I've just found the photos. They look more like air rifles than actual rifles.
Interesting hours, lads.
Bolt action.
Interesting hours.
Yeah.
The thing is, they take these guns up to Saddleworth Moor and just do target practice, as if like that's just like a day out.
There's one that looks like what's that like where you cock it by pulling the trigger down? There's one that looks like that.
Hemi's gone weird. I think we lost Hemi.
Oh, hold on a sec.
Oh dear.
Is that better?
There are two hobbits in chat.
Am I back?
It says you're non-optimal, whatever that is.
We knew that already.
Your connection is non-optimal. No, it's good now.
I'm the real hobbit.
I'm saying I'm full now. Am I back?
You've gone up to 120 kilobytes. No, you're good now.
No, what I was saying is there's one of those, like the Wild West rifles where they like cock it by pulling like the trigger.
Wild West rifles. I assume some form of lever action rifle.
That's what I mean. How you cock it by pulling like the trigger thing down. There's a picture online with one of them with Brady holding one of those.
Yeah, because
with a lever action repeater.
Yeah.
Because the rifles in Zulu, I mean, when did Zulu happen? Was it 1890s? They could have had it before.
I mean, we're talking now. 1890s would have been the Boer War, and probably one of the maybe the second Zulu War. The Martini Henry, that would have been 1870s.
Okay. Well, repeating rifles were around in the 1870s. I guess the Royal Army was a bit slow on the uptake because they, were a bit dubious, conservative.
There's some features to this, and I'm going to ask Gray because it's his show. This is going to take me at least 3 minutes to explain.
Yeah, no problem. We can go. We're only just on 2 hours anyway. So.
Okay, right. So I'm going to try and hit all the salient points. Yes, lever action rifles did exist in the 1860s. Yes, they were used in the later part of the American Civil War. However, what you have to keep in mind is that those rifles, especially with the early patterns of those, the ammunition in the rifles was an awful lot less powerful than full-powered rifle cartridges of the era. And whilst they could shoot very quickly, they were incredibly expensive guns. These are the laser guns of the 1860s. They're incredibly
cutting
expensive.
Edge of technology.
Yes, incredibly expensive. The ammunition burned through incredibly quickly. They were also very prone to malfunctions, breaking, dirt getting in the magazine, the tube magazine, because the original ones that were made were an open magazine. They weren't a closed system. So because they were expensive and underpowered and, had to be maintained by specialists and burned through ammunition at a rate of knots, is that for the most part, they didn't see
there's a link to the picture of him with a lever action in. I think it's a lever action in the chat. The picture's not the best. So if you look in the side chat, that's a picture of him with that gun.
Hang on a minute. Where's the side chat? Fuck.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing. I wonder why they never had pump-action rifles, because the pump-action shotgun still remains a popular mechanism to this day.
Well, in terms of...
And then the other one looks like an air... And then the second one I've put in looks like an air rifle to me.
All right, let's have a look at the second one.
Is that Myra Hindley wearing a riding cap?
Yeah.
Oh, chat, we're looking at some images here and of examples of lever action rifles, and one of the shooters looks like Myra Hindley.
Right, so the first picture that you've posted, that's not a lever action rifle. That looks to me like a rolling block action, which is quite an old design of rifle. It's just a single shot thing where you'd use a lever, but there's a particular type of action on the back where essentially the back of the chamber moves down with the bottom of the lever.
Yeah.
So that looks like, especially if it was in an obsolete cartridge, wouldn't have required a license even today, because it would have probably come under Section 57.
Yeah.
Fucking CSI 14 words here. And the second one, I'm looking at that, and if I'm honest, I don't think I can quite convince myself that's an air rifle.
I don't know, you can see kind of down the barrel, and the barrel looks quite small, doesn't it?
Where you're showing...
Unless it's just the 2.2.
I didn't realise these images you're showing, the title is called 17 Best Images about the Moors Murders.
Oh,
so that one that looked like Myra Hindley probably was Myra Hindley. Yeah, that was it. Scroll up again. Yeah, and that's the one.
I just googled Moors Murderers with guns, and then that's what came out.
Yeah. So that is Myra Hindley with a gun. Oh god, I thought I was being clever then. I was actually telling the truth.
Oh, how about this other picture here? Hold on a sec. Oh. All the ones with that one that looks like a rifle, they're all blurry.
Well, they're not the best photographers, are they?
Yeah, a bit shaky. Oh, Myra's a bit shaky, isn't she? She's got the shakes. That third picture, have a look at that one, Capstan, although I think it's just as inconclusive as the last one.
No, that's an air rifle.
Yeah,
it looks a bit...
I've convinced myself. No, that's
I
don't know the make and model, but it looks like some old Super Sport.
Yeah.
That looks like the air rifles you get at shooting galleries at the fair.
Yeah.
You know what's annoying about that? I've always all the ones I've been to in the UK, they all just put corks in the muzzle, and you can't shoot for shit with a cork. But I've been to, well, yeah, I know, but I've been to. No, I guess that's the problem. I mean, I've been to shooting galleries in other countries in Europe where they actually give you pellets, and it's a lot more fun when you use the actual projectile intended for that weapon.
Some of the early air rifles, like before they brought in this faggot like limiter on it, I mean, they were pretty nasty, you know. I mean,
did you know the Austrians used an air rifle?
Yes.
Yes,
I do.
Field it in combat. They called them Windbush Jaegers. Thank you. Where basically this thing back in the 1700s used an air tank on the back of it and had literally a 20 bullet, and I use that in the correct terminology, 20 bullet magazine.
Well, the original slingshots, the Roman, what's the name? I think they call them funditores, unless someone in the chat can correct me. But the slingshot auxiliaries the Romans used, they Yeah, you can use rocks, but rocks are unpredictable because they're not all the same weight. So they would make lead bullets to go in a slingshot, and they'd have thicker and smaller ones based on what sort of range they wanted to do. Likewise with the javelin auxiliaries and the peeler, they'd have a light peeler for the first volley, and they'd have a heavy peeler for the second volley.
Yeah, we used to find like they weren't lead; they were stone balls. When I used to have a job planting marron grass along the Norfolk coast, and we used to find I find a couple of sort of stone balls, like shaped spherical stone balls. I imagine that was something like that. Sort of.
Well, I mean, the early cannon and bombards, they would use shaped stone balls because they were used at the same time concurrently with the trebuchet, and trebuchets would employ stonemasons to make stone balls for them, because a stone ball flies truer than an irregular lump of stone. Wikipedia recommends that after I read about Moore's murders, I might be interested in the article about thrill killing.
I've literally just
That's
found
a cheery subject. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of sort of sums up my theory about it. It's just
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I've literally just found an article from the Daily Star where it says Moore's murders, Jimmy Savile part of pedo ring with Ian Brady and Myra Hindley.
What's that? Well, who else was involved with that then?
Hold on a sec. Oh,
Cyril Smith. I reckon Cyril Smith was part.
Was he in the right area? Are you putting your hand up, Hobbit?
He was.
Yeah, I am. I noticed there's a good thing in it. You can put your hand up.
I've just put
Mr. Hemi.
I've just put the link to the article in the chat, in the side chat.
Mr. Hemi, do I have permission to speak?
Permission to speak.
Before
they were arrested in 1965, Savile ran the BBC studios from Manchester's Dickinson Road, where Top of the Pops was filmed, and has been accused of meeting with Brady and Hindley to buy indecent images of children.
Oh my God! I don't want to look at another picture of Jimmy Savile.
Skim by it. Someone called Erica Gregory, who's devoted years of her life investigating the Moore's murders, believe they even formed a twisted paedophile ring.
Well, like I say, yeah, I think that was, yeah. Cyril Smith, he was probably like the ringleader, wasn't he? He was like the sort of head wizard, weren't he? Like, and they're all bloody.
This is a weird quote. Alongside David Smith, Brady was selling photographs of children to make money at this time. I believe Savile could have been one of his customers. So she directly fingers David Smith, didn't she?
Yeah.
Without a candlestick.
Yeah, I've seen like.
Hey, Scuggy Squidge says funditores is correct. The Roman slingers are called that. I was thinking, are they called velites or is it funditores? Or
Fucking hell. How about this one? In 2014, Dan Davis noted that Savile chillingly replied, "I am the Myra Hindley story," when asked on his opinion of it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. They were bum buddies.
Yeah.
Or wax candle buddies, I should say.
Wax candle buddies.
Maybe they had shared an interest in canal pushing.
Lovely.
Well, also, Brady had spent time at Broadmoor, hadn't he? A haunt of Jimmy Boy.
By the way, I don't know, guys, in the YouTube chat, because I think, considering we're talking about serial killers now, on Tuesday's show, we were talking about the canal pusher, and he's been caught. I posted in the Fortean Times
he's
Telegram
not. There was
group.
a theory that he was the canal pusher. He wasn't actually. He wasn't definitively the canal pusher.
Oh, okay. The alleged canal pusher, allegedly.
Not even alleged. The possible canal pusher.
Oh,
it was just.
Well,
it was only a theory. It was only a theory, though. They hadn't actually linked him to it.
Oh, fair enough then. But I posted a video by Irish gobshite Thomas Sheridan about the canal pusher. He did a video on it in 2015, so I just thought that'll be pertinent for people subscribed to Fortean Words.
Yeah, I watched that. Yeah, it's an interesting. Yeah, but just to say like that, the canal pusher, that guy, he comes from a very rich family, from Indonesia or whatever. So there you go. I mean, they're all at it. These elite rich families. I think they're part of an international cult of nonsense and child sacrifices.
If I didn't know better, I'd say that the richer someone is, the more likely they are to be ruthless and have that killer instinct. And I think the killer instinct is not a metaphor.
I think they breed it into them as children. I think they give them pets and then they kill the pet in front of them, don't they? To sort of toughen them up.
Do you think that's what the sending to boarding school is really all about? It's about desensitising them.
Toughens them up, doesn't it? Like
Jimmy Savile, David Icke wrote in his book about Prince Charles being buggered in boarding school, and the abuse he suffered there was to toughen him up and make him a man.
Well, I don't like to quote Jordan Peterson, but this is actually a pretty good thing of his. He said there's been experiments on mice where they've taken the mother away from the mice, and they've said that the problems that it causes last generations. So maybe that's why they send the kids to boarding school as soon as they can walk, basically.
Yeah. Well, what happens when your kid's sent to boarding school? They're immediately thrust into this hierarchical thing of bullying and probably bumming as well, like sort of submissive dominant bumming. And I mean that's what they're all trained as, isn't it? And so, you go through that system, you're going to be pissed off, aren't you? So you're going to take it out on the poor, aren't you? When you get,
you're also going to be desensitised because you've had to get through your school years, haven't you?
Speaking of being desensitised, gents, right? Do you think that also relates to circumcision? That it is a form of almost sexual torture in order to take away the most intimate part of you?
Well, it's trauma-based mind control, isn't it? I hate using that word, mind control. If a young child is like
it's accurate.
Well, it is, the same. I mean, I think a circumcised man is going to foster very negative feelings towards women, I think, and like. Because it's like he can't pleasure. It's not he can't pleasure a woman, but he can't pleasure himself in the act of sex. So I think that sort of twists their mind, doesn't it?
Oak Ashthorne makes a good point in the chat. He said, "Yes, Rochdale is just up the road from Saddleworth."
Yeah, that's like I say when these like say there is this elite cult or doing like a weird black magic stuff, and when you do stuff like that, like synchronicities. Just seem to that just appears as a kind of echo of it or a side effect of it. And look at Hyde, like I've said it before. Hyde, like you got Harold Shipman, the Doctor of Death. He lived in Hyde, and the Morse murderers lived in Hyde as well. And you got like Jekyll and Hyde. Hyde is the evil shadow twin of the good Dr. Jekyll, and
I'm pretty sorry to have to laugh at that, but fucking Ian A's just put in the chat, "Leave our foreskins alone," and all I can think of is Pink Floyd, "Leave our foreskins alone."
Hey, Rabbi, leave that kid alone.
Well, it's fucking barbaric.
I know, he's just sitting there, fucking, all in all, you're just Yeah.
I was going to say,
on the floor.
Has anybody watched the Wicker Man recently? When they go to the local shop, there's a jar of foreskins on the counter in there.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That's what I read the other day. It's like if I went up to some kid and like chopped his foreskin off, I'd be put in jail. But like somehow these religious people, they get like
I was going to say, you'd probably be lauded as brave and progressive and helping her transition into a woman. But if you did that to a woman and, you started circumcising her, then you'd be a monster and evil and need to be deported to Somalia.
Right, so now we've gone wildly off the path of the Morse murderers. Do we have any other business regarding the Morse murderers?
Well, where's Myra Hindley? Her ashes have been discarded somewhere. I was going to say, is there a place I can go and piss?
Let's have a look.
No, they were all Brady and Hindley were both cremated, and their ashes were just. No one knows where their ashes were.
How ironic! The bitch died of a heart attack.
Oh, I thought it was constrictive pulmonary failure. She smoked 40 a day. How can you afford a 40 a day habit when you're in prison, only 50p a day?
It's quite easy when you're letting off with a prison guard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay.
There's no mention of ashes.
I'd say don't. If you go on Saddleworth.
Whoa! Hold on a minute. Trivia: in 2001, Hindley was on the cover of Attitude. I don't know if you know what Attitude is, but it's a gay magazine.
Oh, there you go.
Interesting. Yeah. I'll just say, if you're ever on Saddleworth Moor, don't take any magic mushrooms. Right.
Oh, they've got lyrics including Hindley are in her Wikipedia. You're the most perfect woman this side of Myra Hindley. David E. Williams, the pumpernickel crust. It's Myra Hindley on the cover, your very own sweet anti-mother, which is by Crass Mother Earth. You better watch out, Brady. I'm gonna have your lady just 'cause I want her, just 'cause I can get her, and you can't. So pogo on that, you twat. That's from the Brass Eye TV series spoof. Myra Hindley and Ian Brady, those who have got nothing on my old lady, is a coldy-looking chain lyric. and then the classic, God save Myra Hindley, God save Ian Brady, even though he's horrible and she ain't what you call a lady. Yeah. That's the Sex Pistols knowing he's innocent. Hindley wakes and Hindley says, Hindley wakes and Hindley wakes. Hindley wakes and says, oh, wherever is he gone, I have gone. The Smiths suffer little children.
And then there's Sutcliffe Jugends, Queen Myra, and King Ian tracks on their 10 cassette box collection. We spit on their graves.
Throbbing Gristle's Very Friendly as well.
Yeah, that's a classic. Yeah.
What else? Kill Yeltsin, who's saying Zirinovsky, Le Pen, Hindley and Brady, Ireland, Alec, Sutcliffe, Dharma Nielsen, Yoshinori Ueda, Blanche and Pickles. Amin Milosevic. Give them respect they deserve. That is from the Manic Street Preachers Archives of Pain.
Marco Coletti Spaghetti wants to come on. I don't know if you got the link. But...
yeah.
I'll be closing up here, or
I was trying to
half an hour or so. You know.
No, we have gone long before. Marco, it's in your. No, that's not it. That's not even slightly it. That's a article. Marco, I'm going to send it to your Telegram. Tell him I'm going to send it to his Telegram.
Hello, I'm here again. I was just going to say...
Check your Telegram, Marco.
Scuggy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I'm sort of like... I feel like the token weirdo here, where like, it's like... I've researched this sort of like weird Kabbalistic stuff for years, and I sort of know it's true. But the trouble is, the moment you start talking about it, you just sound like a total fucking nutcase. But like I say, there's lots of.
Well, as I say to you every week, Zero. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. They believe it.
Yeah,
that's what matters.
Exactly.
And that's all that fucking matters. The fact that they believe it.
Yeah. But the thing is, what they believe is a true underpinning of reality, because numbers and words structure reality. I mean, how could we live without numbers and words? They do structure reality. So if you can merge them together in a sort of spell with all these numbers and words, which mean a certain symbolic thing. I mean,
Zero, if you can
what they do.
Zero, if you consider...
Yeah, it's hard to talk about it.
Stop white cocking, you gay faggot.
It's hard to talk about.
Eat shit.
Hello.
Right.
No.
Yeah, but you're a confirmed skeptic though, Capstan. You can't.
Yeah, but the problem is, what you have to keep in mind is, I am going to throw you a bone here, mate. Okay, this is.
I don't mind skeptics.
Hi there.
No, fuck you.
I welcome it.
Oh, you can hear me. That's
Where's
good.
Where's gone? Everyone's gone. Oh God!
Well, I'm still here.
I don't know.
There's five. Who's this?
That's nice.
People.
I wanted to say something.
No, I understand. I understand the skeptical point of view.
Can Zero not hear me?
No, I hope he can't.
Oh, this is annoying.
There was 5 people in. was that fifth mysterious person who just joined?
Marco
God.
tried to join.
God,
Tried to
gone
join, but he
quiet.
couldn't.
Right, who can hear me?
I can hear you.
Right,
I
okay.
can hear everybody.
Hobbit, can you hear Zero?
I can hear Zero.
Zero, can you hear
No,
Hobbit?
I think they've gone. I can't hear Hobbit or Hemi.
Right, okay,
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Right, so I thought people were talking over each other. So Zero, you can't hear Hobbit, and I can't hear Hemmingford, and it's all gone to shit. That's
All right.
per usual. Okay.
Well, that's a wrap then. Join us next
I know
week.
I know where skeptics are coming from. It's just like I say, it's hard. It's like if I spent like 40 years, what's the word? Like remaking a sort of classic car, and then someone comes along and say like, "Oh, classic cars are shit," or "I don't believe in classic cars." You know what I mean? It's like I've spent like 40 years researching this stuff, but someone comes along and says, "Oh, it's all a load of bollocks." Sort of like, I respect that view, but it's just like, well, I mean, my view's just as valid as everyone else.
No. What you have to keep in mind is that I've never said that it was all a load of bollocks. When I say I remain skeptical, that's become sort of a synonym in these circles for you think I'm talking crap, as opposed to no, I remain skeptical, but present your case and evidence, weigh it up, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, because you get.
To be quite honest, the way that I always think about this is all of the shit that happened in the Second World War, the things that SOE and the various security services got up to and considered in various documents. Even the things they carried out, Operation Mincemeat Anyone, for example, that actually happened, that were done during wartime as an attempt to screw over the Axis. If that's what they were doing in the 40s, what are they doing now?
Yeah.
So,
well, they employed stage magicians, didn't they? The SOE in the Second World War. I mean, they employed stage magicians to like do this like sleight of hand sort of thing, where the Germans thought we had like loads of tanks, but they're all inflatable rubber tanks and all this stuff, and they used mirrors and things like that. And I just think like this world is structured as a pyramid system, and like the higher you go, the weirder it gets. And I mean, there's stuff like even I wouldn't believe, which they are probably doing. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, as I said, in terms of David Icke and all that, I mean, what I would say to it is some of what he says, right, is very much like on the ball. The problem is it seems to be obscured by some really quite far-fetched nonsense.
Yeah.
Hey, Capstan, I'm wondering...
It's very odd, isn't it? It's just... And like David Icke lives on the Isle of Man, which has like about 7 Freemasonic temples. So like he probably buys his sausages off the Illuminati. He makes his money like slagging off the Illuminati, but he probably gets his car fixed by the Illuminati. It's just... It's crazy, isn't it?
It's you think about it, and you think just buying some milk, Illuminati milk, full fat, or something.
I'm not talking. Can you hear me now, Zero?
But I mean, these fuckers do rape children, and they do sacrifice children, and I think they do it to appease these ancient Babylonian gods. Like, I mean, that was going on in the Babylonian times, so I don't see any reason why that would stop. I think that would just carry on, and they're still doing it today. Like, for some weird reason, I don't know why they do it. Maybe to get money or power or something.
Well, one of the simply Capstan convey it to him.
Well, this is no good. The bloody host is gone.
Right. Okay. I'd like to point out
I'm here, but no one can hear me. Can you tell?
Talk, but because
can you tell Zero I'm going to wrap this up now?
Sometimes you're sort of cutting him off.
All right,
can you just give it sort of 10 seconds so Hobbit can tell me something that I have to convey to you?
I can't hear him.
So Capstan convey
to
Lord
him Towelhead
that the simplest thing in this is probably that if they do it to gain power, they do it for spouse.
Hobbit has asked me to tell you.
Whatever
that
Hobbit
probably
just
do it
did.
for magic and
Can everyone
sexual
hear me now?
urges.
Who can hear me?
Yeah, that was the long and short of that.
Yeah. Hello, Hemi, I can hear you.
Well, why can't
right.
I hear Hobbit? I can't hear anyone. I can only
It's
hear
because
you.
I don't like Linux.
We've got
Therefore
Laura
it does
Towler
this.
here, but I can't hear her either.
No, it's Laura Towlhead.
I'm going to go out and come in again, I think.
Okay, then we'll
That's
try
probably
that.
the best bit.
Can everyone hear me now? Can everyone that's in here hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Hemi.
It's like, why do these streams go weird after about 2 hours? Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello, Laura Towler. How are you?
Laura Towlhead, for fuck's sake.
Sorry.
Jesus
I'm getting you mixed up with Myra
Why does
Hindley.
Laura Towler always copy it on my fucking live streams?
I know it's terrible, isn't it? Why does everyone have to be so mean?
Oh no.
Oh dear.
Oh, fuck.
Hello, can anyone hear me?
I can hear you and Hobbit now, but I can't hear Hemi.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now, Zero?
I can hear you, yeah. But Laura Towelhead is here. I can't hear her.
Hello.
That's because he's not
Hello,
talking.
can you hear me, mate?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, Laura.
Right, so we can carry it. So we can.
Hello, everybody.
Right,
I'm Laura Towler.
I love to
The
kebab.
gang's all here.
I am an evil man and I'm going to hell. But yeah.
No, you're not going to hell.
Yeah, I've missed this, lads. I've been doing lots of productive shit.
You want to stop doing that?
Ugh.
You got to stop doing that. It's gay.
Can I just say for the record that although I'm interested in the occult and things like that, I'm not one of these twats who wear Puta pentagrams and has a goatee and a shaved head.
Oh shit! That's how I managed you. You spoiled the mission.
No, that's like miles away from. I'm just a geezer, you know. It's like that shit's miles away from me. Because they were all bullied at school, all these people with the pentagrams. You know, there'd have been traffic wardens.
That's about half our audience gone now, Zero. You just insulted them all.
No, I mean, you know, you either become a traffic warden or you buy a book by Aleister Crowley and become a bloody occultist, isn't it? It's just like...
Do you think it's childhood bullying displacement, do you, to get your own back on the bullies?
A lot of it is, yeah. I have to say, a lot of it is, yeah.
Oh dear. So, are we ready to wrap up now? I think we've.
Well, Laura Towled's here. I don't know if she wants to say anything. She's muted herself. But...
I guess go to the Grub and Glory highlights channel.
Yeah, we
If
now
you
have
don't
a
wanna
Grub and
sit
Glory
through,
highlights channel.
If you don't want to sit through Hemi's fucking constant soundtracks or Hobbit's tangents or Geralt's Willy posting, then head to the channel for the hot takes.
Right, I'm gonna